Chapter 141 I've Got Your Back. Chapter 141 I've Got Your Back. As Emperor Yi's group arrived at the observation deck, Emperor Luo and others looked over at them. Yi Futian, Yu Sheng, and Yi Wuchen had finally appeared. Chu Quangren looked over at the three. His gaze and his light smile were slightly cold. Yan Qi looked sharp. He was anticipating what would happen soon. Luo Junlin also turned his attention to the three of them. Things were about to get interesting today. Beside Luo Junlin sat a beautiful girl. It was the girl who drank with Luo Junlin on the island last night. Her name was Shen Ruishuang. Her makeup was light, unlike last night. She looked soft and gentle and had the aura of a wealthy family's daughter. Last night, she gave herself to Crown Prince Luo Junlin, and because of that, there was a seat for her next to him today. Many nobles looked over at her. They knew exactly what was going on. They thought, this girl really has a few tricks up her sleeve. Seems like there's no hope for the position of first wife. Maybe a second or third wife. Crown Prince Luo Junlin was only steps away from being a big shot at the royal Zon Temple. Even if he didn't manage to do that, he could still be emperor of the Nando nation. A second or third wife wouldn't be so bad. They wouldn't even mind being a concubine. Many people on the battle platform also recognized Shen Ruishuang. She had also participated in the Tingfeng banquet. Plus, she was a well-known beauty in the imperial city. She was disqualified during yesterday's banquet, but who would have thought that she would receive the crown prince's sympathy? Shen Ruishuang glanced coldly at Yi Futian but did not say anything. However, Yi Futian paid no attention to the gazes that fell upon him. He took his seat and looked out onto the 9 battle platforms ahead. He also observed the crowd quietly. Just then, a few bursts of light shined from a distance in the skies above. Multiple figures appeared in midair. The leader of the group had a majestic aura, just like a mighty emperor. "Brother Luo, how come you didn't invite me for a drink to celebrate this big news?" asked the leader. Based on the way he greeted Emperor Luo, it was easy to guess his status. To be on the same level as Emperor Luo, this person must be an emperor as well. The emperor of the Mo Kingdom has graced us with his presence. What an honor. Emperor Luo stood to welcome his guests. "Please join us and have a seat." "I have also come to join the fun," laughed another person. In the sky above the crowd, a bright light erupted and a figure bathed in a red light stepped forward. "Congratulations to the Nando nation's crown prince for entering the royal Zon Temple. There will be yet another noble plain cultivator in the future," said the newcomer. His voice was clear and his aura powerful. "What a surprise. The emperor of the Hongye kingdom is also here. Please, have a seat," said Emperor Luo. "The Donglin kingdom has come to congratulate the Nando nation for the Tingfeng banquet." Another group appeared in midair. The Tianluo kingdom would like to congratulate Luo Junlin for entering the royal Zon Temple. More people arrived in the opposite direction the emperor of the Donglin kingdom came from. Seeing the majestic figures in the skies made many people from the Nando nation nervous. The atmosphere was raging. No one expected the arrivals of yet another 4 emperors. Now, there were 8 emperors present at the Tingfeng banquet. This was a grand occasion unseen in the last 300 years. The last time something similar happened was during Emperor Luo's coronation. Without being told, many people understood that this was not simply because of the Tingfeng banquet. If it had been so, then there was no need for them to show up uninvited and unannounced. It was good enough that the 3 emperors Emperor Luo personally invited came to attend the banquet. Obviously, they had gotten the news that Crown Prince Luo Junlin was accepted by the royal Zon Temple. They did not show up during any of the other days of the Tingfeng banquet but all chose to appear on the last day, as if they had planned it together. Emperor Luo smiled happily. The 4 emperors were all from close-by nations. The Yunchu nation's neighboring country was present, as was the neighbor of the Yan kingdom. Now that they were all gathered to congratulate him, even though he was already an emperor, Emperor Luo still felt proud. This was a big boost to his ego. "Everyone, please have a seat," Emperor Luo said as he toned down the smile on his face. Immediately, the 4 newly arrived emperors descended onto the observation deck, landing in different directions. Emperor Yi and the 3 other emperors watched them quietly. They felt slightly conflicted on the inside. Had the emperors of these 4 large nations really come to attend the Tingfang banquet personally? It seemed like they were keeping close tabs on the banquet, or else they would not have been able to make it here so quickly. From this scene, it was possible to foretell the future rise of the Nando nation. Yi Futian also observed quietly. He watched the proud Emperor Luo and the lively audience. All of this was brought about by Luo Junline's admission to the royal Zan temple. Today seemed to be an unprecedented day, worthy of celebration. Unfortunately, the people of the Nando nation were probably going to be highly disappointed. Let's begin. Emperor Luo smiled. Immediately, a loud whistle came from the crowd and 18 genius cultivators stepped onto the 9 battle platforms, welcoming their final battle. On every platform were the best cultivators of each plane. Shi Lu, Yun Tianao. Supporters called out to them from the lively audience. With their spectacular gifts, many of the contenders on the platforms had impressed the people and were worshipped by them. Yun Tianao was an example of this. He broke through the 7-starred glory plane and made his way on to the 8-starred glory plane platform. He remained peerless as always. As soon as his matrix appeared, no one was able to counter the force. The results would remain the same even if his opponent was in the 9-starred glory plane. The most outstanding contender from the glory plane was definitely Yun Tianao. If it wasn't him, then it had to be 9-starred glory plane cultivator, Jing Zan. His abilities were terrifying. He was most likely able to battle against common realizations of Dharma. The battles of the 9 platforms began. The platforms shook with the force. The sounds resonated beyond the platforms and washed over the area. The most powerful contenders fought with full force for their final battle. Every battle was nerve-wracking to watch. My friends, what do you think of the geniuses of our Nando nation's Tingfang banquet? Asked Emperor Luo. He smiled brightly from his seat on the observation deck. In due time, they will become the pillars of the nation, said a fellow emperor. They are indeed outstanding. At the very least, they're much better than those on the Fenghua rank, said the emperor of the Yan kingdom. Yi Futian glanced coldly at him. It was evident that the emperors had a bias. None of them wanted to get on Emperor Luo's bad side. However, Emperor Yi did not seem to care. He continued to watch quietly. To be completely honest, he had to admit that the contenders of the platforms were indeed very gifted. Their combat abilities were very strong. Had it not been for Yi Futian, Yu Sheng, and Yi Wuchen, the Fenghua banquet may have truly lost in comparison to the Tingfang banquet. Emperor Yi had a sudden thought. What would the Tingfang banquet have been like if Emperor Luo hadn't chased out Yi Futian and Yu Sheng? Finally, the battles ended one by one. The victors of each battle did not leave the platform, for they were the stars of the Tingfang banquet, the center of attention. They waited for the rewards from the emperor. In the crowd, the people from Donghai Academy looked to the figure standing proudly on the 8-starred glory plane platform. All of them had a satisfied smile on their faces. Although Zhou Qing was disqualified, Yun Tianao was able to make it to the end. On top of that, he used his great powers to completely destroy his opponent, gaining his victory. He fought hard to be the last one standing on that platform. As a student of Donghai Academy, Yun Tianao had brought them great honor. Among the crowd from Donghai Academy, Headmaster Tang of Heian City's Heian Academy was also present. Beside him was Tang Yu. She still had some unresolved conflict with Yi Futian from way back on Mount Tianyao. Seeing that the young Yun Tianao was able to make it to this stage, they also felt proud and happy for him. They had also spotted Yi Futian. Rumors had it that he was freakishly powerful. He had once fought against Yun Tianao. It was unforeseen that he would become the best of a nation. However, the Yun Tianao in the present was not any weaker than Yi Futian. In the end, 9 figures stood on the battle platforms with the utmost glory. The Tingfang banquet's best of each plane had finally revealed themselves. A smile spread across Emperor Luo's face. He was very satisfied with these 9 people. They all possessed extraordinary gifts. Perhaps with proper guidance, they could become great aids for his son, Luo Junline. The strongest 9 have been born. The prodigy cultivators from our 4 nations are now gathered here. Would it be all right if we verified each other's abilities? Asked Chu Quanbren. Emperor Luo smiled at the 9 figures on the platforms in front of him and said, the best of the Yunshu nation, Kangye Kingdom, and Yan Kingdom would like to test your abilities. Do you guys accept their challenge? Pleased to. Let's go. The 9 figures were ready to fight. Very good. Emperor Luo nodded in satisfaction. He then turned to look at the cultivators of the 3 visiting nations and said, I leave them to you now. Chu Quanren nodded and shifted his gaze in the direction of the Kangye group. You've avoided it for so many days and will finally show your face. Today marks the end of the Tingfeng banquet, you should have no more excuses. He stared straight at Yi Futian and Yi Wuchen as he spoke. On a platform, Yun Tianao also had his eyes on Yi Futian. Speaking out loud and clear, he asked, Yi Futian, do you dare battle with me? His voice vibrated through the air. The best of the 8-starred Glory Plane cultivators at the Tingfeng banquet had challenged Yi Futian. Yi Futian looked as calm as ever. Whether it be the people from the Yunshu nation or Yun Tianao, their provocations were unable to shake him. He lifted his head and looked at Chu Quanren as well as Yun Tianao. He replied with a smile, it's okay that you guys pick a fight with us, but are you willing to pay the price? Yi Futian sounded so calm, far from how resonant Chu Quanren and Yun Tianao sounded. However, this calm voice also bore extreme arrogance. Yi Futian did not seem to give a damn about these genius cultivators from the Yunshu nation, nor did he care about those from the Tingfeng banquet. It's okay that you guys pick a fight with us, but are you willing to pay the price? I'm willing to pay whatever price it takes, Chu Quanren answered with a cold demeanor. Let's fight. This was all Yun Tianao said. His intent to battle was in overload. Yi Futian turned back to look at Emperor Yi, who was seated behind him. 8 emperors had gathered today, a day of glory and pride for Emperor Luo. All the other emperors were friends of Emperor Yi, so if he didn't want Yi Futian to fight, then he wouldn't. But when their eyes met, Yi Futian saw Emperor Yi break out into a huge smile, and listened as he said casually, I've got your back. Chapter 142 My name is Yu Sheng. Chapter 142 My name is Yu Sheng. Okay. Yi Futian smiled after hearing Emperor Yi's words. He stood up and looked towards the battle platform. Countless gazes fell upon him. Was the battle between the prides of the 4 kingdoms starting? Yun Tianao stared at Yi Futian. His battle intent was rumbling, and the people of Nando became even more enthusiastic after feeling it around him. Yu Sheng, Yi Futian called softly just then. Yu Sheng looked over to see Yi Futian scanning the mass of people from the Nando nation. Yi Futian smiled and said, everyone's eyes are on this battle. News of the Tingfeng banquet will be spread throughout the Nando nation. Yu Sheng understood what Yi Futian was implying. If his master was still in the country, he would know about today's battle. Yu Sheng, this is your battle, Yi Futian continued. Let them know who you are. Okay. Yu Sheng nodded and stepped onto the platform. The surrounding people all looked at them with shock. Their conversation seemed to have some deep meaning. Would Yu Sheng fight in this battle? He walked down the platform and stared in the direction of Yun Tianao. Yu Sheng, 8-star Glory Plane. Yun Tianao, 8-star Glory Plane, Yun Tianao said coldly, seeing that Yi Futian still wasn't fighting. Since you want to battle, I'll defeat you first. As soon as he finished, his life spirit appeared. The formation flashed and he walked forward. There was a matrix with each step. The spiritual chi gathered around him furiously. Yun Tianao had witnessed Yu Sheng's fighting before. He was extremely confident in himself, but he would never go easy on his opponent. As if sensing the powerful battle intent and strength from Yun Tianao, there were the screams of a storm from the heavens. Yun Tianao had taken the first place of the battle platform with an excellent performance. He was also peerless amongst those who passed this round. Today, he would defeat the prides of the other 3 nations to prove himself. The pride of the Nando nation, Yun Tianao, would declare his name to the world with this battle. Countless people from the Donghai Academy and Heian Academy all looked at Yun Tianao. They knew how powerful Yu Sheng was, while this battle would be Yun Tianao's. Thud. At that moment, there was a heavy thud on the ground. Everyone saw Yu Sheng take a heavy step. His body transformed into a bow and began sprinting toward the battle platform. Thud, thud, thud. The ground shook with Yu Sheng's every step. There seemed to be a strange melody. The shaking earth sounded heavier than usual compared to the sound waves of the storm. Yun Tianao watched Yu Sheng racing to the platform. A matrix formed with each of Yun Tianou's steps. Various altars appeared around him. Mysterious light rushed out from the four directions. Countless fire dragons spiraled up, the flames about to swallow everything. More terrifyingly, there seemed to be frost filling the air above the scalding space. Ice and fire shouldn't mix, but now, they appeared at the same time. The destructive power was horrible. Seeing the shocking matrix, the Nando crowd came to life, extremely roused up. Was this the ability of Yun Tianou, the pride of the Tingfeng banquet? Many girls were attracted. He was a true genius. Boom! With a loud sound, Yu Sheng came below the battle platform. With a step, he shot up and appeared in the sky above the platform. Then he descended towards where Yun Tianou was. Countless eyes looked up at Yu Sheng's descending body. For a moment, he looked like a god coming to the mortal world. His muscular body was covered in a dazzling dark gold armor. There was a faint yet terrifying shadow on him, like a demon. The descending body had unstoppable power. Yun Tianou roared and the world was covered by ice. Yu Sheng seemed to be sealed with ice as well. The fire dragon spiraled up, melting into Yu Sheng's frozen body. The combined power of fire and ice was painful enough to make one wish to die. But everyone realized that the godlike figure didn't stop. The ice seal shattered. Bathing in the power of the ice and fire, Yu Sheng allowed the fire dragons to roar and bite without being affected. At that moment, he really looked like a god. How is this possible? Yun Tianou stared at the descending godlike figure in shock. Without any time to react, Yu Sheng had arrived. Crack! There was a crisp sound. The spiritual qi within the formation danced wildly. Everyone watched with shock as the godlike figure stepped onto Yun Tianou's shoulder. The bone cracked and Yun Tianou fell to his knees with a pained cry. The horrible power forced him down. The matrix formation extinguished. Everyone in the endless Nando crowd had their eyes focused. The storm instantly stopped. The skies and earth fell silent. Time seemed to stop flowing. The entire world seemed to quiet down. Yun Tianou, the one who had shone so brightly at the Tingfeng banquet, catching everyone's eyes, the genius worshipped by countless, had been squashed under the foot of the descending figure. Without any extra movements, without any pauses, Yun Tianou had knelt directly. Genius, peerless, unmatchable in the Nando nation. At this moment, Yu Sheng faced the endless crowd from the Nando nation. Looking at that cold and hard face, the Nando citizens felt that they would never forget that merciless step. Not only had he stepped on Yun Tianou, he'd also stepped on the faces of all Nando citizens. Yun Tianou was the most dazzling genius they'd chosen within the decade. Yu Sheng took a step forward and knelt down. Grabbing Yun Tianou's neck, he tossed the other into the Nando crowd. He didn't look at the other again, as if Yun Tianou, a talented figure, didn't deserve another glance. Turning around, Yu Sheng gazed at the people from the Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom. He asked indifferently, "Next." Neither the prides of Yunshu nor Yan came out. They all trained their eyes on the figure. Was Yun Tianou really weak? They'd witnessed his entire path and his talent was indisputable. However, Yu Sheng had descended like a god and Yun Tianou couldn't even fight back. How could anyone battle with someone like that? All was silent. Yu Wuchen gazed at Chu Quangren and said coldly, "Are you mute now?" The prides of the two kingdoms looked uncomfortable, but Yu Sheng didn't bother with them anymore. He didn't even show any expression. Instead, he started towards the 9-star glory plane battle platform nearby. Then he started running again. When he reached the side, he jumped again. With a boom, he soared like a god and appeared in the air above the battle platform. Jing Zan was the strongest of the 9-star glory plane. When he looked up at Yu Sheng, his eyes showed fear. The godlike figure was unstoppable. He gathered all his strength. The surrounding spiritual qi went wild. Then he attacked first, the wild power booming into the sky. With a huge thud, Yu Sheng landed before Jing Zan. The battle platform shook and the aggressive power just roared past without even touching him. As one of the best of the Tingfeng banquet, this shouldn't have happened. However, Jing Zan's fear turned this into an embarrassment. Yu Sheng punched. Jing Zan flew off the platform towards the crowd. This battle couldn't even be described as a battle. Yu Sheng continued walking toward the battle platform of the Dharma plane. Will he challenge Su Mu? Some muttered. Was he crazy? Su Mu was at the first level Dharma plane. He was one of the most talented of this year's Tingfang banquet. Other than Shi Lu and Yun Tianao, he was the most popular. Was Yu Sheng going to challenge Su Mu? There was another thud. Yu Sheng flew up again, shooting toward the platform for the first level Dharma plane. Su Mu raised his head. Seeing the figure in the air, he sneered. Flashing, he shot into the sky too. He was Su Mu, not Yun Tianao and definitely not Jing Zan. Countless heads were raised to look at Yu Sheng. How would he attack this time? The wind roared. A pair of giant wings appeared behind Yu Sheng with a flash. Dark gold light flowed through them. Every feather had a menacing point as if they were the wings of a demon. This moment, Yu Sheng seemed to have turned into a demon. The wings flapped and Yu Sheng moved towards Su Mu. Rather than dodging, a terrifying dragon appeared behind Su Mu. When Yu Sheng charged over, there was an earth-shaking roar. Countless dragons dove at Yu Sheng. The feathers on Yu Sheng's wings continuously overlapped, transforming into an extremely sharp dark gold vortex. It opened and closed, slicing up the incoming dragons. The dragon above Su Mu was as enormous as a true dragon. It moved to swallow Yu Sheng. Yu Sheng's wings opened and he looked forward. He streaked toward the dragon like a bolt of lightning. Under everyone's shocked eyes, he rushed into the dragon's mouth. With a boom, the dragon exploded and Yu Sheng rushed out. Su Mu's expression was uncomfortable. An extremely aggressive aura erupted. He transformed into a dragon and charged at Yu Sheng. His dharma and body had become one. The dragon came, engulfing Yu Sheng. He reached out and grabbed the dragon's mouth. With a loud roar, he put endless strength into his arms and ripped the dragon apart with his bare hands. Su Mu screamed in pain and the realization of dharma shattered. Yu Sheng's wings changed. The feathers dislocated and unbelievably turned into tentacles that grabbed Su Mu's body, hoisting it into the air. Seeing this scene, the endless crowd focused on the demonic figure, their hearts trembling. Hovering in the air, Yu Sheng gazed at the mass of people with wild eyes. He roared, "My name is Yu Sheng. I am Yu Sheng, the disciple of Yi Shang, headmaster of Donghai Academy's School of the Finance Star of Donghai City, Nando Nation." The violent sound waves swept through the sky and earth, resounding in the ears of everyone in the Nando Nation. He was Yu Sheng, the disciple of Yi Shang, headmaster of Donghai Academy's School of the Finance Star of Donghai City, Nando Nation. Chapter 143 Top Pride of the Kangye Kingdom. Chapter 143, Top Pride of the Kangye Kingdom. Yu Sheng. From this moment on, it was the name no one in the Nando Nation would ever forget. His name was Yu Sheng. He was from the Nando Nation's Donghai City, disciple of Yi Shang. The people had many questions. Who is Yi Shang? Why is such an outstanding student from Donghai Academy fighting for the Kangye Kingdom? As for Yun Tianao, he seemed to be Donghai's Academy best student. Then what about Yu Sheng? Presently, the people from Donghai Academy were shocked into silence. There was a bitter taste in their mouths. Yun Tianao, who the Heian Academy had high hopes in, had captured the attention of everyone. But what of it now? The three hotshots had all faded into the background while Yu Sheng stood out among them. Yi Futian smiled at that figure. Of course, he knew the reason behind Yu Sheng's outburst. After this battle, Yu Sheng's name was going to circulate all over the Nando Nation. He was going to become a legend. And because he came from Donghai City, from Donghai Academy, it was only natural that the news would reach the city. As long as Yi Shang was still there, he was definitely going to hear his disciples call from the Tingfang banquet. Senior Yi, you really hit the jackpot with this disciple, son-in-law, thought Yi Futian. He smiled brightly as he wondered what kind of expression that sly old fox would have when he heard the news. He would definitely be very proud. Beside Yi Futian, the people of the Kangye Kingdom were also in shock at the sight of the wings on Yu Sheng's back. Did Yu Sheng hide his true abilities during the Fenghua banquet? Or are these devil-like wings the result of his cultivation in the Nando Nation? Back when Yu Sheng was in the 7-starred glory plane, his inability to fly was the reason why he could not win against his opponent's realization of Dharma. Now, he was in the 8-starred glory plane and with these wings, he had brutally defeated Su Mu who was in the Dharma plane. Not only them, but even the 8 emperors present were in shock. Yu Sheng's combat skills were too violent. He was able to destroy his opponents with pure and absolute strength. His powers disregarded all else. Who cared if you had shocking sorcery skills or if you had a million tricks up your sleeves? His strength was able to destroy it all. The intent to kill in Emperor Luo's eyes grew stronger. He had only focused on killing Yi Futian and Hua Jieyu, but now he realized he missed one person. The disciple of the Finance Star School's headmaster Yi Shang. Was this meant for Yi Shang? How preposterous. He used this battle platform and stepped all over the pride of the Tingfang banquet just to tell his master, Yi Shang, that he was here. Beside Emperor Luo, Luo Junlin and Minister Hua had similar looks in their eyes. Shen Ruoxuang sat next to Luo Junlin and stared at Yu Sheng, stupefied. She had mocked Yu Sheng last night, calling him ugly, but after tonight, who would dare to use the word, ugly, to describe this devil-like being? Even Minister Zuo, who sat without a single word, lifted his head to look at Yu Sheng. He took a good look at his devil-like silhouette and then turned to look at Yi Futian among the Kangye group. Minister Zuo had only told the fortunes of Yi Futian and Hua Jieyu, but he had just now realized this terrifying existence by Yi Futian's side. How could a person with such a special fate as Yi Futian not have a protector? It seemed like everything had already been arranged by fate. His empress was here, as was his protector. The royal Zan temple set their sights on Crown Prince Luo Junlin, and the 8 emperors of different nations had gathered in own place in celebration. Everyone had thought that the Nando nation was going to grow stronger in the 100 lands, but no one thought that this was just the beginning of the end. Whom the gods would destroy they first make mad. Standing on the battle platform, Yu Sheng's eyes swept over the wave of people. His outburst from before seemed to have relieved him of the stress built up over the past days. Afterward, he flapped his wings, and they carried him towards the observation deck. Yu Sheng did not continue to battle. What he had done was enough to carry his message to his master. All Yi Shang had to do was ask around a bit and he would know that Yu Sheng fought for Emperor Yi of the Kangye Kingdom. After that, it was only a matter of time until he would join them in the Kangye Kingdom. Upon returning to the observation deck, Yu Sheng retracted his wings. His fellow Fenghua rank cultivators saw him in a different light. Some looked at him in admiration, some in jealousy. Yu Sheng's scream from before had them all shaken up. They thought of Yu Sheng's previous exchange with Zuo Qinfen. Isn't the noble plane just another plane in cultivation? Is it very powerful? Perhaps it was very powerful to Yu Sheng now, but what about in 10 years? 20 years? One day, when he acquired the noble fate, he would definitely be one of the most domineering noble plane cultivators. Emperor Yi looked at Yu Sheng with even more admiration. Not only because of his gifts, but also because of the meaning behind his outburst. After ranking in the top 3 on the Fenghua rank, his request was to find his master. Now, at the Tingfeng banquet, his reason behind this shocking battle was still the same. Even though he was an emperor, the one above all, he was envious of Yi Shang. Emperor Yi was very curious what kind of person Yu Sheng's master was. Although Yu Sheng had already stepped off the battle platform, the venue was still filled with silence. The rowdy and loud atmosphere was no more. In the past, the Tingfeng banquet was something that excited the people of the Nando nation. It was an event that pushed everyone's emotion to its limit. It was a time for them to witness their nation reach new heights. But that energy was broken upon Yu Sheng's appearance. Looking back now, the Tingfeng banquet seemed like such a joke. Once every 10 years, just one battle was able to wipe away everything in the past. This was the true definition of peerless. A single person who was able to outshine all others, defeating every one of the so-called prides of the Tingfeng banquet. Do you still want to fight? Emperor Yi broke the silence with his question. With a smile on his face, his every word conveyed his confidence. Yu Sheng's battle had lifted his mood. He felt so refreshed. This was just one battle in the battle of the 4 nations. Of course, we have to continue, said Chu Quanren. When Yu Sheng had asked for new opponents earlier, no one from the Yunchu nation or the Yan kingdom answered. It was truly embarrassing, but Yu Sheng's performance was just too violent. He was so much stronger than the reports they received about the 3rd place of the Fenghua rank had stated. He had surprised them. However, They were the prides of their nations. They could not be weak. No need for the trouble, someone said coldly. Yi Wuchen stood and continued, after so many days of blabbering, you guys don't even have the guts to step up for a challenge. I would have shut my mouth early on if I were you. Chu Quanren looked at Yi Wuchen with a darkened expression. No one had any retorts for not answering to Yu Sheng's challenge. You guys can step up as you please, said Yi Wuchen. His sword intent released and his body shot forward like a blade. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived on the platform where Yun Tianao stood. Everyone's eyes fell on Yi Wuchen. He stood there casually with his hands behind his back. He gave off a carefree feeling, very unlike a person who was about to be confronted in an intense battle. Brother Yan, are you going, or shall I? Chu Quanren asked Yan Qi. They were both in the second-level Dharma plane, just like Yi Wuchen. You guys can come together, Yi Wuchen said nonchalantly. Preposterous, said Yan Qi. He specializes in swords and I specialize in knives. Let me go, Yan Qi said to Chu Quanren. All right, replied Chu Quanren as he continued his icy stare at Yi Wuchen. Yan Qi stood and in a single step, he lifted into the air. From his being, a force of knife intent was released, wanting to cut through everything in its way. Yan Qi was peerless in the Yan kingdom and was bestowed the title of a prince. His knife once cut through a cultivator in the fourth-level Dharma plane. One step at a time, Yan Qi made his way into the skies above the battle platform. His knife intent permeated through the skies and like an invisible knife, it aimed to cut through Yi Wuchen's body. Yi Wuchen lifted his head. Looking ahead, his sword intent released destroying the knife intent. The two powerful forces crashed into each other in midair. A large knife appeared in Yan Qi's hand. He suddenly sped up, and like a flash of lightning, his knife was thrown forward. The wind enveloped the knife and the images of thousands of knives cut down at the same time. Yi Wuchen lifted a finger and from it, came a seemingly endless force of sword intent. It was under the sword intent that the thousands of knives were destroyed one after another. Yan Qi circled the skies above and released an even stronger force of knife intent. This second knife swung downward more powerful than the first. Yi Wuchen still looked incredibly calm. He lifted slowly into the air and the sword intent traveled with him. Countless swords appeared around him, real swords. Go! Yi Wuchen pointed his finger and the swords shot forward with a whistle, all charging crazily at Yan Qi. Yan Qi saw this and changed his tactic immediately. In front of him, the swords separated and got into a circle formation, surrounding him and raced toward him in all directions. Behind him appeared a black knife. A terrifying force of knife intent came from the weapon and endless images of the knife revolved around him so quickly, no wind or rain could make its way through this makeshift force field. There was still a change in Yi Wuchen's expression. Around him, sword intent was released yet again and more swords attacked Yan Qi at the point of Yi Wuchen's finger. The swords came endlessly. The people watched as Yan Qi continued to wave his knife around. His knife skills were very strong. Both his attacks and defenses were fearsome. However, there seemed to be no end to Yi Wuchen's swords. Just when Yan Qi thought he could let down his defense to attack, his swords charged at Yan Qi's weak point as if they had eyes of their own. At this, Yan Qi realized that it was hopeless. There was nothing he could do besides defend himself. Forfeit or death, Yi Wuchen spoke unfeelingly. He reached out both hands and the sword intent circling Yan Qi turned into a storm, completely burying his body in a storm of swords. In the air, there were only swords. There was no Yan Qi. I forfeit. Yan Qi's voice rang in the midst of the storm. In the next moment, the storm of swords disappeared, and Yan Qi was seen once again. The scene just now kept replaying in everyone's minds. After witnessing this battle, the Kangye group realized that Yi Wuchen did not reveal his true abilities during the Fenghua banquet. There was no need for him to give it his all because even without doing so, he was already invincible. Emperor Yi should be the one who knew best about Yi Wuchen's abilities. He was his nephew after all. Had it not been for Yi Futian and Yu Sheng's appearance, first place on the Fenghua rank would have been Yi Wuchen, no questions asked. It was all because Yi Futian was able to defeat a Dharma plane cultivator. During the Fenghua banquet, there was actually no one fit to be Yi Wuchen's opponent. Not counting Yi Futian and Yu Sheng, Yi Wuchen was truly the top pride of the younger generation in the Kangye Kingdom. Chapter 144 Low-Key Yi Futian. Chapter 144, Low-Key Yi Futian. Yi Wuchen's power once again shocked everyone present. The prides of the Yunshu nation and Yan Kingdom all looked uncomfortable. There had been so many challenges, but this was the result. Yu Sheng went without saying. They didn't even dare challenge him. Now, Yi Wuchen had defeated Yan Qi. The Kangye Kingdom had completely overshadowed the Tingfeng banquet through these 2 rounds. At the same time, the Yunshu nation and Yan Kingdom were fully humiliated. There had only been 2 battles between the 4 nations, but it was more like the Kangye Kingdom's solos how. It seemed to prove Yi Wuchen's words from before. He didn't like trouble. Who else? Yi Wuchen asked indifferently. He didn't name anyone because he was too lazy to challenge anyone. He didn't care who wanted to fight him. If no one dared to, this battle of the 4 nations would be meaningless and could end. Chu Quanggren's eyes were extremely cold. Even someone as strong as Yan Qi had lost to Yi Wuchen so badly. Yi Wuchen hadn't even released his life spirit yet. Even now, they didn't know what kind of cultivator Yi Wuchen was. He was clearly a swordsman, but what else? Was he only a swordsman? If so, he was a terrifying swordsman who could fight, creating a storm of swords that wrapped around Yan Qi, each sword seeming to have its own life that searched for Yan Qi's flaws. Me, a voice said. It came from above the battle platform rather than below. It was Shi Lu, one of the most excellent figures of this year's Tingfeng banquet, at the 2nd level Dharma plane platform. Yi Wuchen looked over. They stared at each other like at the Kixing Lake last night. 2 artistic conceptions were released at once. One was sharp, the other was cold. Without a word, Yi Wuchen stepped forward. Instantly, endless sword intent came out of him and flew towards Shi Lu, 2 platforms away. Shi Lu's eyes were indifferent. A frightening artistic conception bloomed from him. The world became frigid as endless double elemental spiritual chi of water and earth danced in the air. The sword intent grew heavy and seemed to be frozen by ice. They slowed down and stopped before arriving at Shi Lu. The entire area seemed to stop. So cold. Someone close to the platform shivered. It felt like the entire world slowed down, even the blood flowing in their veins. Yi Wuchen and Shi Lu walked towards each other at once, moving to the platform beside them. This way, the 2 occupied one platform and became even closer. The sword intent on Yi Wuchen strengthened. He reached out and the swords whistled. They sliced through the air towards Shi Lu's body. Shi Lu's aura grew colder. The surrounding environment grew heavier. Everyone knew that this was the terrifying effect of combining the Earth Elemental's gravity spell and Water Elemental's ice spell. Countless straight ice sculptures in the shape of swords appeared in the sky. They slowed down bit by bit and then exploded. Shi Lu continued walking forward. At the edge of the platform, he hovered in the air. No wonder he's one of the Tingfeng banquet's monsters, the people of the Nando nation thought. Shi Lu and Yun Tianao were probably the most popular contenders of the banquet's winner. It was clear that Shi Lu's abilities were stronger than Yan Qi. As Shi Lu hovered in the air, the Dharma appeared behind him. It looked like 2 half-circles. One was water and the other was earth. They fused together, transforming into a full moon. The moment the moon was released, the double elemental spiritual chi went wild. It gathered furiously as if it wanted to cover the entire world. After that, light shot out from the moon. White and earthy yellow light alternated like moonlight. Everything in its path seemed to slow down until they exploded from the ice. The sword intent flowing across Yi Wuchen's body was destroyed crazily. The moon's radiance showered onto Yi Wuchen. The spell was released with the Dharma's light, making the power shocking. This is true Dharma, many thought, stunned. Shi Lu was only at the 2nd level Dharma plane, but he already had the essence of Dharma. His talent was peerless and his spells were extraordinary. There was no limit for him in the future. Feeling the incoming aura, Yi Wuchen's eyes grew serious. A beam of silver light shone behind him. Everyone watched as silver filled the sky. A small silver sword floated behind Yi Wuchen as if it was his life spirit. Boundless sword intent gathered around the small sword, transforming into a sword river that flowed forward. It clashed against the glow of the 2 half-moons. Time seemed to stop. The 2 different forces were both being destroyed. A terrifying ice seal spell descended from the surrounding sky. Bit by bit, the air turned into frost, burying Yi Wuchen inside. However, silver light flashed through his eyes. The small sword sliced through the air, rushing into the moonlight and destroying everything. Shi Lu reached out to freeze the small sword, but there was a boom and the spell shattered. The sword continued forward without any obstructions. Spells continued to descend, but the small sword shone like a spirit. It continuously broke through the spells, so fast the naked eye couldn't keep track of its path. Finally, with a terrifying rumble, the sword appeared between Shi Lu's brows with terrifying sword intent. Shi Lu didn't doge. He stared down at the small silver sword as if he could see Yi Wuchen's eyes. At that moment, he finally knew what kind of cultivator Yi Wuchen was. "You lost," Yi Wuchen said. The aura around Shi Lu scattered and he collected his dharma. He was defeated. After the sword returned, Yi Wuchen looked at Shi Lu and said calmly, "Not bad." Countless people were shocked. Yi Wuchen was the victor but said this to Shi Lu. It was a bit. However, his voice sounded so natural as if he really thought that. He was truly an arrogant guy without any ingenuity. After that, Yi Wuchen scanned the Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom. Finally, he went back to the Kangye kingdom's spot. The teeming crowd was silent. All the prides of the Tingfeng banquet had been defeated with no wins. Emperor Luo's expression was dark while the other emperors watched quietly. They'd come to show their support and unexpectedly witnessed this show. Luo Junlin, crown prince of the Nando nation, was seen highly by the royal Zan temple and the Tingfeng banquet was held smoothly. It should have been great news, but Emperor Luo couldn't feel happy now. The Fenghua banquet of the Kangye kingdom is held once every 3 years. The people that come from it aren't bad, right? Emperor Yi said with a smile. His mood was getting better and better. Emperor Luo had invited him just to gloat, but now, it'll be impressive if the man could still smile. The Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom finally shut up. They couldn't say anything anymore. 2 battles are enough for the battle between us. You all can continue, but we'll be leaving, Emperor Yi said proudly. The battle between the 4 nations can't end with only 2 challenges. It's too early, Emperor Luo said coolly. 4 of the most brilliant of this year's Tingfeng banquet had been defeated. Since they were already at this state, they couldn't just give up now. What do you mean? Emperor Yi asked coldly. Emperor Luo looked over at the prides of the Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom and said, "You've seen the 2nd and 3rd place of the Fenghua rank. Don't you want to witness how strong the 1st place is?" Yi Futian frowned. Emperor Luo was trying to force him to fight, but why? The 1st place of the Fenghua rank has been avoiding the fight this entire time. He's probably all talk and no substance, Chu Quangren said. Many of the Kangye kingdom frowned. Chu Quangren was the prince of the Yunshu nation, but he spoke with no tact. Or rather, was he purposely cooperating with Emperor Luo after seeing that he wanted to force Yi Futian out? Can you shut up? Yi Wuchen's eyes were sharp. He really despised Chu Quangren. Who was the one that had no substance? Emperor Yi didn't look at Chu Quangren. Instead, he looked at Emperor Luo and smiled. Then he said to Yi Futian, "Since everyone wants to see your ability, you mustn't be impolite as a guest." Seeing his gaze, Yi Futian smiled and nodded. He walked towards the battle platforms. He also went towards the one Yun Tianao had been at. When he stood atop it, countless gazes fell on him. According to gossip, Yi Futian was from the Donghai city and the emperor had wanted to confer a title upon him, but he refused and turned towards the Kangye kingdom. Yu Sheng, the rare talent from before, was his friend. Yu Sheng was 3rd on the Fenghua rank while he was 1st. The people of the Donghai Academy and Nando clan looked at Yi Futian too. They inhaled sharply. At the last day of the previous year, Yi Futian had displayed unparalleled talent. How much more powerful was he now? Yi Futian, 8-star glory plane. Standing on the battle platform, Yi Futian gazed at the spectators and smiled. "I am unskilled with an ordinary talent. I was made 1st of the Fenghua rank due to luck. Now, I'm terrified because all the prides of the 4 nations are gathered here. Faced with the brilliant figures of the Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom, I don't dare to come out to fight. However, Emperor Luo requested me, so I must come out and challenge the geniuses of the same plane." Emperor Yi coughed, a bit shocked. Was this still the arrogant Yi Futian from the Fenghua banquet? When did he become so low-key? And same plane, how could he say that with his talent? The others of the Kangye kingdom also grew annoyed. Lin Yuyao blinked her pretty eyes while Bai Chu and Yu Zhong were dumbfounded. They'd never seen someone so shameless. Not only them, the people of the other nations were stunned as well. Yi Futian said that he was unskilled with an ordinary talent while the Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom were brilliant. How could they respond to such shameless words? Same plane. Did Yi Futian take them as idiots? Chapter 145 One Swing of the Rod, One Dharma. Chapter 145. One Swing of the Rod, One Dharma. Although the Yunshu and the Yan groups had insulted Yi Futian, there was no way they would actually believe that the person picked by Emperor Yi to be in first place on the Fenghua rank had actually gotten there by pure luck. To be able to defeat a Dharma plane cultivator, even one with an ordinary realization of Dharma, he was definitely a monster. What's more, the people he defeated were also on the Fenghua rank. So according to their original plan, they were going to have Yi Futian fight against someone in the Dharma plane. But this shameless jerk was just too unpredictable. They could not argue back with a thing Yi Futian said. He spoke politely, made himself sound weak and modest, and complimented the prides of the Yunshu nation and the Yan kingdom. What could they say to that? Was there anything wrong with him wanting to fight against someone in the same plane in a battle of the four nations? There was nothing they could say. Brother Yi, you must be joking. How could the person in the first place on the Fenghua rank be ordinary? Chu Quangren racked his brain for something to say. Deep down, he was cursing Yi Futian for being so shameless. He knew clearly that Yi Futian's opponent would lose, no questions asked if it was someone in the same level. Brother Yi, are we close? Yi Futian chuckled at Chu Quangren. Besides, didn't you say I was all talk? Now you're saying that I'm no ordinary person. What is it that you want? Do you want to fight or not? Chu Quangren's face fell. Seated with the others from the Kangye kingdom, Hua Juxin couldn't hold in her laugh at the sight of his expression. She thought to herself, Yi Futian is really bad, the way he bullies others. Emperor Yi had wanted to leave, but Chu Quangren wanted to continue the battle of the four nations. Without an excuse, how would he be so thick-skinned as to request that Yi Futian battle with a Dharma plane cultivator? Yi Futian, during the Kangye kingdom's Fenghua banquet, you defeated multiple cultivators in the Dharma plane. You are truly gifted. Why are you insulting yourself by putting on this facade? Since you have set impressive records, let's have each of the other three nations send out one person in the Dharma plane. We'll settle things on the battle platform, said Emperor Luo. Many people gave him a strange look. It was true that Yi Futian had set some impressive records, but it was slightly out of place for an emperor to request a battle between a glory plane cultivator and those in the Dharma plane. Yi Futian looked at Emperor Luo. When Emperor Yi planned to leave earlier, Emperor Luo refused to let them go and tried to force Yi Futian into battle. He was still not willing to give up. If so, then Yi Futian was going to make his wish come true. So, the battle of four nations means that our Kangye kingdom has to fight, glory plane to Dharma plane. Emperor Luo is truly brilliant, Yi Futian said sarcastically. He then turned to the cultivators of the three nations and said, since it has already been spoken, what's the point of lying to yourselves and calling this the battle of four nations? Each nation, choose one person in the Dharma plane. Come at me all together. In this moment, Yi Futian lost the playful attitude. His voice was low and everyone could see the change in his eyes. This should be the real him. Yi Futian, an 8-star glory plane, said to powerful cultivators from 3 other nations, each nation, choose one person in the Dharma plane. Come at me all together. Not only did he have to fight against their Dharma, he also had to fight 3 people who were going to gang up on him. Even Yu Sheng, who was extremely domineering, was not as arrogant as Yi Futian. Emperor Yi looked to the figure on the battle platform. He did not say any. Since Yi Futian had already spoken, then he believed that he could do it. Emperor Luo let out a smile. The Yunshu nation and the Yan kingdom sent out one person. They were both the strongest of their first-level Dharma plane cultivators. Who is willing to fight for our Nando nation? Emperor Luo looked out at the crowd. Their best first-level Dharma plane cultivator, Su Mu, had already been destroyed by Yu Sheng. It was a given that they had to pick another person. I am willing to fight for your majesty. A figure emerged from the crowd. It's Zhong Yan. Everyone's eyes brightened. This person was the one who fought with Su Mu to be number 1 among the first-level Dharma plane cultivators. He was also very capable. Despite not being as good as Su Mu, he was not too far off. All right, nodded Emperor Luo. At the same time, the cultivators from the other 2 nations made their way to join Yi Futian on the battle platform. Zhong Yan lifted into the air and looked down from the skies at Yi Futian on the platform. Countless pairs of eyes fell on the handsome young man on the platform. An 8-star glory plane fighting 3 Dharmas. This was about to get crazy. The individual from the Yunshu nation wore an armor of flames and his body was bathed in the red glow. Behind him, a fearsome realization of Dharma appeared. It was a large area of flames, like an ocean of magma. It looked like a river of liquid fire. The flames made the surrounding area look red. He's already this powerful in the first-level Dharma plane. Everyone watching shook in fear. The cultivator sent out by the Yan kingdom also possessed a terrifying Dharma. A large demon ape appeared behind him, causing his entire body to fill with an indescribable strength. He became wild and ferocious, prepared for destruction. The 2 of them reached the sides of the battle platform very quickly and stood there staring at Yi Futian. They wanted to know how Yi Futian would defeat a realization of Dharma. Zhong Yan floated above the platform. A long spear appeared in his hand, a strong energy seeped out from the weapon. Yi Futian stood at the center of the battle platform, his aura was ready. A long golden rod appeared in this hand. The Yunshu cultivator took a step forward and immediately, a wave of flames headed for Yi Futian in the form of a fire dragon. The golden rod danced in Yi Futian's hand. A large force of energy descended upon him and on his back, sprung his golden rock wings. With a flap of his wings, Yi Futian was lifted into the air. The fire dragon charged forward. Apparitions of the rod revolved around Yi Futian, collecting energy. Slowly, a great force of energy permeated from his being. Boom! His wings spread, and Yi Futian transformed into a giant rock, soaring through the skies. The other 3 looked up at him to see he fly even higher. It was a magnificent sight. All the while, the force continued to grow stronger. After that, they watched as Yi Futian charged towards the cultivator from the Yunshu nation. He was unbelievably fast. The flames formed by the cultivator's Dharma raged and flowed like magma toward Yi Futian. A massive hand formed by the flames reached out to grab Yi Futian who was floating in midair. Yi Futian turned into a ray of golden light and did not stop for even a split second. The rod swung down in single swipe. Genesis. The large palm of flame split apart from the middle. This one swipe was headed straight for the Yunshu cultivator with a force so strong, it was possible to split the sky in half. The cultivator's fire sorcery exploded wildly. Just like flowing magma, the hellfire headed for Yi Futian, but with one swing of the rod, a magnificent golden light blocked the cultivator's body from advance. The path separated the wave of flames. There was nothing strong enough for the rod. Boom! This loud noise could mean nothing else. The Yunshu cultivator had been struck by the golden rod and was now lying face down on the battle platform. Was the Dharma plane this weak? The audience was shocked. He was hand-picked by the people of the Yunshu nation, so he must have an impressive Dharma, but he could not even withstand one attack. Down with one swing of the rod. The people of the Yunshu nation sat in their seats with darkened expressions. They had previously mocked the Dharmas defeated by a glory plane cultivator. What kind of Dharma was that? They asked. Now, the Yunshu nation's Dharma plane cultivator had also been defeated by Yi Futian in the glory plane. In one strike, one might add. After this one attack, not only did Yi Futian's energy not weaken, it actually got stronger. At the sight of this, the cultivator from the Yan kingdom, who had refused to gang up on Yi Futian for the sake of his reputation, could feel his heart speed up. With a growl from the demon ape, an apparition of the ape overlapped on the cultivator's body. He was filled with immense strength. But when he saw Yi Futian fly his way like a giant rock, the cultivator could feel the descent of his aura even before he got to him. His aura was strong enough to suppress everything. Boom! The Yan cultivator stepped forward and the atmosphere became heavy. The demon ape roared in a fury, loud enough to shake the mountains. He lifted his hand to throw a fist, prepared for destruction. It was during this wild fit that Yi Futian swung his rod for the second time. As the long golden rod came closer, it looked bigger and bigger in the cultivator's eyes. The rod came down with such strength, everything was destroyed. The enormous demon ape was ready to charge forward but was struck by the attack of the rod. Boom! Another crash. The Yan Kingdom's Dharma plane cultivator was thrown backwards, faster than the speed of the wind. Everyone was simply speechless. There were no words fit to describe this situation. Yi Futian did not slow down one bit. He headed straight for his third opponent. Once again, with a swing of the rod. The aura around Zhong Yan was shocking. His long spear shot out and of course, it was destroyed by the rod. His body was sent flying. However, Yi Futian saw Zhong Yan's body exploding as he was thrown through the air. A residual image could be seen, descending like a shadow at an incredible speed. What seemed to be a dagger pierced toward Yi Futian. The blade glimmered in the sky. This sudden scene caused everyone in the audience to feel a clench in their hearts. Especially for the Kangye group. Their eyes were frozen on Yi Futian. There was the slight noise. The dagger seemed to have broken skin, piercing into Yi Futian's body. It looked like his heart. However, the dagger never made it in. Yi Futian had caught it in his left hand, but he was still hurt. Fresh blood gushed from the wound. Zhong Yan lifted his head to look at Yi Futian. He had a peculiar look in his eyes. Was Yi Futian physically that strong? He was able to stop Zhong Yan's critical strike. Zhong Yan. Everyone was dumbfounded by this sight. He never displayed these abilities in battle with Su Mu. That attack was too strange. A determining strike. He almost killed Yi Futian. But Yi Futian was actually able to stop this critical attack. It was easy to see just how scary fast his reflexes were. A dragon roar sounded. Yi Futian threw his arms out, throwing Zhong Yan to the side. Then, his rock wings fluttered, carrying him upwards while his rod swung downwards. A loud crash resonated through the area as Zhong Yan crashed into the ground. However, this was not the end. At an incredible speed, Yi Futian picked up Zhong Yan by the waist with his rod and tossed him up into the air. Whoosh! His wings brought he into the air above Zhong Yan's body. Yi Futian's eyes were ice cold and filled with the intent to kill. I forf! Zhong Yan tried to scream out with blood in his mouth, but before he could finish the word, forfeit, his utterance was disrupted by a loud noise. Boom! Zhong Yan's body shook in midair and then fell to the ground. His arms were limp as if he was no longer able to raise them. But of course, a dead person would never be able to raise their arms again. Chapter 146 Emperor Yi's Attitude. Chapter 146 Emperor Yi's Attitude. With a slight sound, Zhong Yan's body fell down on the platform, not moving anymore. The boundless void was so quiet. Yu Sheng defeated Su Mu of second-level Dharma plane with wild attacks while Yi Futian killed Zhong Yan directly with his staff. Even the talents of the Dharma plane from the Yunshu nation and Yan Kingdom couldn't resist his staff. It was unprecedented that a man of the Glory plane could be so strong. The people of Donghai Academy and the Nando clan felt complicated about Yi Futian's change. He was even strong enough to defeat people of the first-level Dharma plane. Once he upgraded to the Dharma plane, he would be able to defeat people of the third-level Dharma plane very easily. But at this moment, Yi Futian didn't feel the pleasure of victory. He looked at the blood on his chest with cold eyes and then gazed at Emperor Luo in the stands. Yi Futian watched the final battle too. He witnessed the battle between Su Mu and Zhong Yan. Zhong Yan didn't play such a trick before. He seemed to save this just to fight with Yi Futian as the fatal attack. And before, the emperor had egged him on to fight. The talents of the Tingfeng banquet had been defeated, so with Emperor Luo's status, it should have been unnecessary to do. All this seemed premeditated, but he couldn't accuse Emperor Luo. Everything happened within the rules. No one could be blamed even if he was killed on the platform. It was he who promised to fight and no one forced him. The man who fought with him was of the first-level Dharma plane. Nothing was beyond the rule. If he died, even Emperor Yi would be unable to say anything. If Yi Futian could figure out this conspiracy, so could Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi looked at Emperor Luo coldly but didn't say anything. The battle was fair enough. What could he say? I learned a lot, thank you. Yi Futian said to people on the stands. Hearing this, people of the Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom looked troubled. The Kangye kingdom had won all 3 rounds. Yu Sheng had defeated many talents. The Yunshu nation and Yan kingdom dared not to fight anymore. Yi Wuchen defeated Yan Qi and Shi Lu very easily. Yi Futian defeated 3 talents in the Dharma plane just with his staff. The last cultivator was directly killed on the spot. No one could blame Yi Futian. Everyone knew that it was Zhong Yan who wanted to kill Yi Futian at first. That was why Yi Futian had to kill him. Even Emperor Luo couldn't accuse him of anything. The battles of the 4 kingdoms are over now, Emperor Yi said coldly and turned to Yi Futian. Come back. Wait, Emperor Luo spoke at this moment. Many people then descended onto the platform, surrounding Yi Futian. These people were the best of the imperial guards. Seeing this, many people were shocked. Yu Sheng was even furious. What's the intention, Your Majesty? Emperor Yi looked at Emperor Luo with extremely cold eyes. Don't you know that Yi Futian betrayed my Nando nation? Emperor said slowly, he rebelled and killed my subordinate. The head of the East Sea Prefecture, Sha Feng, died because of him. Now he dares return to the Nando nation. Thus, he shall die. I hope you will understand. Let me repeat that Yi Futian is my citizen now. He is also my foster daughter's lover, the future bridegroom of the Kangye Kingdom's princess, Emperor Yi said coldly, staring at Emperor Luo. The 2 men locked their eyes on each other, commanding a powerful presence. Seeing this, the 6 other emperors felt complicated. It seemed that Emperor Luo really wanted Yi Futian to die. But clearly, Emperor Luo couldn't easily do so because Yi Futian was brought here by Emperor Yi. What if I insist on killing him? Emperor Luo pointed at Yi Futian. Suddenly, all the imperial bodyguards rushed to Yi Futian, putting him in great danger. Yi Futian stood still and remained silent. He knew that Emperor Luo could kill him easily but didn't dare do so. Are you testing my resolution? Emperor Yi sneered, and then a great sword intent rolled over. Clouds gathered above the sky. Sharp swords whistled and gathered wildly, enveloping Emperor Luo and the noble families of the Nando nation. At the same time, endless sword intent roared past, going straight to the imperial palace. Many people looked up to the sky, seeing the streaks going straight to the palace without returning. The sword intent could be sensed even far away. Let me tell you, I brought him here and I will certainly bring him back. I can't stop you if you really want to kill him, but it won't be difficult for me to turn your imperial palace into a bloodbath. Emperor Yi didn't look at Yi Futian. Both of them knew that Emperor Luo could kill Yi Futian at any time, but he didn't dare to. The reason he didn't dare to was Emperor Yi. No one could imagine what crazy actions he would make if Yi Futian was killed. Once the emperor was enraged, it was not an exaggeration that the whole city would be bathed by blood. Countless eyes fell on them. The relations between the 2 emperors were strained because of Yi Futian. The other emperors watched the 2 emperors' confrontation quietly. The relations between nations could be very subtle. Any dispute needed to be controlled within the rules that everyone was acquiescent to. For instance, if any one of the 2 died on the platform, there could be no complaints since the 2 had a promise. Even if Emperor Luo really wanted to kill Yi Futian, he couldn't kill him in public. Since Emperor Yi had claimed that Yi Futian was his man, Emperor Luo couldn't kill Yi Futian at this time or he would disobey the rules. Disobedience was intolerable. If Emperor Luo killed Yi Futian now, who could guarantee that he wouldn't kill the prince or princess of the Kangye kingdom? Once one side broke the rules, the other side would not let it go and the consequences could be disastrous. Even though Emperor Luo wanted Yi Futian to die, no one believed that he would kill him before test Emperor Yi's attitude. At this moment, he just wanted to figure out how strong Emperor Yi's resolution was to protect Yi Futian. Once Emperor Yi showed the slightest concession and Emperor Luo felt it, Yi Futian would be killed on the spot. Clearly, Emperor Luo was disappointed. In the sky, all the sword intents heading to the imperial place signified Emperor Yi's attitude. What do Emperor Chu and Emperor Yan think? Emperor Luo suddenly turned to the other 2 emperors and asked. The 2 emperors looked at each other, silently cursing Emperor Luo for dragging them into this. When disobeying the emperor's will, Yi Futian still belonged to the Nando nation. I think there should be an explanation, said the emperor of Yunshu nation. Emperor Yi overacted a little bit, said Emperor Yan. The two emperors were all on Emperor Luo's side. However, Emperor Yi didn't care. As neighboring countries, wouldn't they be threatened by the Nando nation's rise? They were just pretending to be friendly but didn't truly support Nando nation. You have heard what the two emperors just said. Now I promise, as emperor, that as long as you leave him here, the Nando nation will forgive all offenses and leave Kangye alone. Emperor Luo gazed at Emperor Yi and suggested. Emperor Yi knew the promising future Luo Junlin would have after he entered the royal Zan temple. The other emperors hesitated. Will Emperor Yi take this into consideration? Though Yi Futian was very gifted, he was only a hero who had not grown up yet while Luo Junlin's future was promising. Giving up Yi Futian meant when the Nando nation rose, the Kangye kingdom would have no worries. Protecting Yi Futian meant the Kangye kingdom could be in great danger once there were two kings in the Nando nation. If I can't even protect a man, how can I protect the whole kingdom? Asked Emperor Yi. Emperor Luo, you don't need to waste your energy on this. I must take him away. Emperor Yi was determined that he must take Yi Futian away. It was silent and awkward. If Emperor Yi didn't concede, then Emperor Luo couldn't kill Yi Futian. Do you have to do this, just for him? Despite whatever the consequences will be? Emperor Luo asked coldly. I was invited here but didn't expect that this banquet would be so tragic. Since it is so, we shall go now. Emperor Yi looked at Yi Futian and said, come over here. Yi Futian nodded and walked toward Emperor Yi. The strong cultivators remained around Yi Futian. They looked at Emperor Luo, waiting for his order. Once Emperor Luo gave the order, they would kill him. But in the end, the emperor's order didn't come. Yi Futian returned to Emperor Yi. A dragon roared in the distance and descended from the sky. From now on, I will start a war against the Kangye kingdom until it is totally destroyed, Emperor Luo said coldly. I'll play this game with you, Emperor Yi responded indifferently and said to his men, let's go. As soon as he spoke, the people of Kangye all climbed onto the dragon. Emperor Yi was the last to embark. With a growl, the dragon soared into the air. The sword intense between the heaven and land disappeared. Emperor Luo looked up to the sky, gazing at those people coldly. Yi Futian was staring at him too without any evasion. The dragon flew into the distance, ready to leave. Yu Sheng was also on the back of the dragon, gazing at Emperor Luo's group with great murderous intent. Countless eyes gazed at the dragon as well as the figures on its back. Everything that happened in the Tingfeng banquet was like a dream. This banquet of the Nando nation seemed to be held for Yi Futian's group. This 17-year-old youth became the reason of the two emperors' conflict. At this moment, countless beams of dazzling light shot over from the distance. The dragon stopped and Yi Futian's group looked at the light. Another emperor has arrived. Emperor Yi was confused. Above the dragon, a few figures flashed by without even glancing at them. When Emperor Yi's group looked toward that direction, the light stopped in the air above the platforms. Countless figures looked up to the sky. The several figures looked dazzling under the sunshine. Did they come to congratulate too? These people seemed to be more powerful than of the strong cultivators from the royal Zan temple, shining brightly like gods. Emperor Luo also looked up to the sky. His eyes shone, full of excitement. After 3 months, the gate to the ancient barren world will open to the 100 lands forever. Everyone can enter the gate freely. A voice was heard from above the sky. Hearing this, the 8 emperors became extremely excited. This voice claimed that a new era was coming. Chapter 147 Influence. Chapter 147, Influence. The ancient barren world. A land of fate, the road to become a noble plain cultivator, the link to the eastern barren territory. For countless years, the ancient barren world had no relations with the 100 lands. There weren't many here in the 100 lands that knew of the ancient barren world's existence. Despite how much the 100 lands grew, the distance between it and the center of the eastern barren territory was still enormous. The 100 lands were the areas forgotten by the eastern barren territory. But now, the ancient barren world was to be forever open to the 100 lands. This meant that from now on, the genius cultivators of the 100 lands had a chance to prove their worth in the eastern barren territory. There probably wouldn't be any immediate effect, but through the hard work of generations of people, the 100 lands would surely flourish. This voice marked a revolutionary moment for the 100 Lands. Emperor Luo's excitement dissipated in the blink of eye, replacing it was a darkened expression. Why had he invited the emperors of other nations to the banquet? Why had other emperors come forth to congratulate him? It was all because his son, Luo Junlin, acquired the noble fate from the ancient barren world and was viewed highly by the royal Zan temple. These accomplishments required not only strong talent but also a chance of luck. The other emperors probably wouldn't have been willing to pass the chance to enter the ancient barren world to the younger generation. But now, the ancient barren world was going to be open to the 100 Lands forever. This meant that all the powerful cultivators of 100 Lands would flood to the ancient barren world. There was bound to be some of them who would acquire the noble fate and be deemed a valuable asset. All this meant that Luo Junlin no longer had an advantage over others. What's more, based on how gifted Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were, what on earth would happen once they reached the highest level of the Dharma plane and stepped into the ancient barren world? It was all so unpredictable. And so, to Emperor Luo, it was good news that he and the prodigies of his nation could enter the ancient barren world freely, but now he no longer had an advantage over the other nations. Now, others would have the same chances as Luo Junlin. However, this was such exciting news to the other 7 emperors. One by one, they rose from their seats, their eyes sparkling. Those who had already heard of the ancient barren world were all incredibly excited. Their chances for entering the noble plane had greatly increased. Also, it was going to be extremely interesting to be in the same world as genius cultivators from the Eastern Barren Territory. Their stage was no longer limited to a nation or to the 100 Lands. We still have to notify other nations. Please excuse us, the figure continued without pause. Then, it morphed into rays of bright light and disappeared. Emperor Yi's eyes swept over the ill-looking Emperor Luo and mounted the dragon. Rising into the skies, they headed far away. Goodbye, Emperor Luo. Since the Tingfang banquet has ended, we will also take our leave now. The emperors took turns saying their goodbyes to Emperor Luo. The ancient barren world would open forever in 3 months. They had to return to their own kingdoms to make preparations. Although there was still plenty of time, the emperors could not wait any longer. Very quickly, all 7 emperors had left with their people. Emperor Luo stood there with a dark expression on his face. The Tingfang banquet had ended and the crowd was still present, but all the banquet left behind was a mess. The geniuses, picked out from the Tingfang banquet, were all defeated in 3 rounds of battle. Someone was even murdered at the event. The Tingfang banquet was the Nando nation's imperial event, but there was nothing to be proud of anymore. There were only reminders of their failure. It seemed that their proud nation fell in just the span of a day. Emperor Luo did not speak. The vast space was filled with many people, but it was also filled with silence. The atmosphere was suffocating. Minister Zuo took in everything calmly. Seeing the reminders of their failure today was like a sneak peek into the Nando nation's future. Minister Hua, Emperor Luo called out suddenly. I'm here. Minister Hua stood up to reply. Prepare for war with the Kangye kingdom, ordered Emperor Luo. Yes, Your Majesty. Minister Hua bowed in acknowledgement of the order. The 9 victors of the Tingfang banquet will enter the imperial palace for their rewards, Emperor Luo announced to the crowd. Although the geniuses completely embarrassed him today, he could not ignore his promise. An emperor must never go back on his words. He could not lose the support of his people. Now that the ancient barren world was about to open, Emperor Luo needed to strengthen his relationship with all types of powerful cultivators in the Nando nation. Perhaps there would be another person who would be able to a lucky break like Luo Junlin did. However, the chances were very slim. Since prodigies from all over Nando nation have gathered here in the imperial city, I will hold another event sometime in the following days. There, I will pick out the best of Dharma Plain cultivators, announced Emperor Luo. And this event will be held once a year from now on. The time will be set for the beginning of the Tingfang banquet. It was obvious, Emperor Luo was already preparing for the opening of the ancient barren world. The ancient barren world was divided into an upper and lower world. Only those in the Dharma plane and below could enter the lower ancient barren world. This year's Tingfang banquet is now officially over, said Emperor Luo. The countless figures below had lost their excitement long before. The final battle of the Tingfeng banquet just a while ago had been so spectacular. However, 3 battles were all it took to completely ruin the Tingfeng banquet. In the first battle, the disciple of Donghai Academy's Yi Shang from the Nando Nation's Donghai City, Yu Sheng, imprinted the image of his large figure and his name into the brains of everyone in the audience with his roaring outburst. In the second battle, the peerless Yi Wuchen defeated Yan Qi and held a sword at Shi Lu. In the third battle, Yi Futian defeated Realizations of Dharma with a single swing of his rod and killed Zhong Yan on the battle platform. It was almost as if the Tingfeng banquet was held for the Kangye kingdom. The ironic part was that now everyone knew that Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were from the Nando Nation. They had once studied in the Donghai Academy's School of the Finance Star. Emperor Luo's imperial order drove them away from their homes and into the Kangye kingdom. It was there that they received high praise from the Kangye kingdom's emperor. This was the reason why the Tingfeng banquet ended the way it did. Everything thought, would Yi Futian and Yu Sheng have been the ones standing victoriously on the Tingfeng banquet's battle platforms had they not left the Nando Nation? But there were no what-ifs. What the people didn't know was that right before the imperial order arrived in Donghai City, Yi Futian had just begun to prepare to set off for the imperial city to attend the Tingfeng banquet. Among the crowd, those from Donghai City felt the most unsettled. They were the people from Donghai Academy and members of the Nando clan. Presently seated with the others from Donghai Academy, Yun Tianao had lost his prideful expression. He looked so dispirited. The devil-like figure that descended from the skies had scarred him, probably for life. He had thought that his gifts were unbeatable and that there was no one else like him present at the Tingfeng banquet. Yun Tianao thought he had what it took to challenge Yi Futian. But that single ruthless stomp from Yu Sheng took away his honor and his pride. After that, seeing Yi Futian defeat the Dharma Plane cultivators made Yun Tianao understand that Yi Futian would never bother to fight him. The crowd began to disperse. After a little while, the area around Tingfeng Banquet's 9 battle platforms were completely empty. The area looked extra bleak. People who had traveled for afar began their journey back home, but there were also many high-leveled Dharma Plane cultivators who stayed in the imperial city. They were prepared to attend this other event Emperor Luo spoke of. However, there was no way this event would be as extravagant as the Tingfeng banquet. As everyone traveled in all different directions, the happenings of the Tingfeng banquet spread quickly through the nation. The names of Yi Futian and Yu Sheng traveled quickly to places all over the Nando Nation. Not only because of their eye-catching appearances but also because of their history in the Nando Nation. The news spread most wildly in Donghai City because that was where Yi Futian and Yu Sheng had started. The imperial order given out in the last 2 days of Divine Prefecture calendar year 10,000, and the battle the Nando clan's palace were still fresh in many people's minds. It was something brought up as small talk after a meal. In just a little over a month, Yi Futian had returned stronger than ever before and ruined the Tingfeng banquet. Plus, Yu Sheng's outburst, how could this not cause an uproar? At the moment, many people were discussing the events of the Tingfeng banquet in one of Donghai City's many restaurants. I heard that everything was started by the Crown Prince. Back in Donghai Academy some time ago, he had asked Yi Futian to work under him but was rejected. That was the starting point of everything that followed. His Highness was accepted into the Royal Zan Palace and Yi Futian displayed such extraordinary gifts. They were both shining stars. The Nando Nation has no space for the both of them. Perhaps they were destined to be rivals. Both of them. Aren't you forgetting about Yu Sheng? My teacher witnessed the battle at the Tingfeng banquet with his own 2 eyes. He told me that when Yu Sheng stepped up for battle, he was invincible like the devil. Is he really that fierce? Of course. Do you guys know of Yun Tianao? He's the star pupil of Donghai Academy and was deemed the future of the academy. His performance at the Tingfeng banquet was simply breathtaking. He was unbeatable. Then, he challenged Yi Futian but Yu Sheng stepped up for the battle instead. Yu Sheng descended like a deity from the heavens and had Yun Tianao under his feet. After being forced to his knees, Yu Sheng picked him up by the neck and tossed him to the side. Yu Sheng didn't even spare him a glance. After that, Yu Sheng defeated the star of the 9-star Glory Plane cultivators with a single punch. Then after that, he released a pair of devil-like wings and fought against a realization of Dharma. He tore apart a dragon with his bare hands and had the audience shaking in their seats after his roaring outburst. Some of them were shaking in excitement. "You guys should know what he screamed out, right?" Everyone grew serious and someone repeated Yu Sheng's words in a deep voice. "My name is Yu Sheng. Yu Sheng, the disciple of Yi Shang, headmaster of Donghai Academy's School of the Finance Star located in Donghai City of the Nando Nation." How domineering. It's just as exciting listening to it now. Headmaster Yi Shang of the School of the Finance Star should be very happy to have a disciple like him. Everyone in the restaurant agreed. That's right. It's said that Yi Shang left Donghai Academy. I really want to meet him. I saw Yi Shang once at Donghai Academy's assembly of 7 schools. It was that very day that he left the academy with Yi Futian and Yu Sheng. He truly was a character, said a young man. In this moment, seated quietly in a corner of the restaurant, was a figure wearing a wide-brimmed bamboo hat. Hearing what everyone had to say, his eyes watered but a smile spread across his face. "I've been alive for so many years and I'm only now feeling sentimental," said the figure. He removed his hat and continued, "My disciple would have never thought of something like this. This should be one of your many rotten ideas. Isn't that right, you little punk?" Many people turned to look at the man who was talking to himself. There was a twinkle in the eyes of a young man who had previously spoken. "Senior Yi Shang." Yi Shang lifted his head to look at him. He smiled freely and replied, "Yes, it's me." The entire restaurant was thrown into a wild frenzy. Many people stared at him in shock. So, he was Yi Shang. There were also many people who were feeling very conflicted. He was a wanted man in the Nando Nation. "Senior, for you to reveal yourself here, I'm afraid," the young man tried to warn him. Hearing his words, Yi Shang laughed out loud. He then turned around to leave the restaurant. Wanted? How many people in Donghai City could hold him down? "Where are you going, senior?" the young man asked. "To the Kangye Kingdom, to find my disciple," Yi Shang answered loudly as he walked away with his head held high. Chapter 148 Marriage. Chapter 148, Marriage. After Emperor Yi brought them back to the imperial city of the Kangye Kingdom, everyone went back to their own places. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng followed Emperor Yi into the palace. "The 100 Lands will probably get busy. What are your plans?" Emperor Yi asked while walking in the palace. After the trip to the Nando Nation, the two parties had become much closer and were like a senior with juniors. "Your Majesty, you've been to the ancient barren world. What's in there?" Yi Futian asked. "I've only been to the upper ancient barren world and not the lower one," Emperor Yi said. "Other than the fate, chance, and secret realms, everything is the same to the outer world. They have clans, forces, and cities. There are people there from all over the Eastern Barren Territory. You can see it as a microcosm of the Eastern Barren Territory. However, it's more dangerous and competition is fiercer. Murder is an everyday thing, so I suggest you wait until you're in a high plane before visiting it." "There's no time," Yi Futian said quietly. "Emperor Luo said he will declare war against the Kangye Kingdom. I don't think he's bluffing. Luo Junlin will go cultivate at the Royal Zan Temple too. My kingdom is not weaker than the Nando Nation," Emperor Yi said. "If he wants to declare war, I'll cooperate. Even without you, it'll come to this sooner or later. As for Luo Junlin, he's troublesome indeed. Because of him, the other emperors will side with Emperor Luo." Yi Futian thought of the attitude from the Yunshu Nation and Yan Kingdom emperors earlier and chuckled. If they support Emperor Luo because of Luo Junlin, they're caring for the Nando Nation's reputation, but aren't they scared of pissing me off? Emperor Yi gave Yi Futian a look. This guy was very talented, but he was still in the glory plane with a long road ahead. Luo Junlin was different though. He'd snatched the noble fate and entered the Royal Zan Temple. He already had one foot in the noble plane. Did they still have to choose? They still didn't have any news of the ancient barren world being opened up. "I'm looked down on." Yi Futian was a bit sad. "They'll regret it," Yu Sheng said seriously from the side. Emperor Yi glanced at him. He realized that Yu Sheng would become serious whenever something had to do with Yi Futian. He wondered what exactly their relationship was. "Yeah, I believe they'll regret it too," Emperor Yi said, nodding. "All right, you two can go." They bid farewell and walked toward the mountain the imperial advisor stayed at. Hearing that Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were back, everyone walked out and gathered together. Yi Futian's eyes fell upon Hua Fengliu. He asked with anticipation, "Master, has your life spirit recovered?" "Yes, we can make them pay for everything they did recently. Last time, who was the one that didn't want to be my disciple in the Gukan Gardens?" Hua Fengliu looked at Yi Futian with a knowing smile. Yi Futian cursed inwardly, like father, like daughter. That smile. "Master, don't you know that I was doing it with you in mind? Plus, I helped get Masteress back for you," Yi Futian said, looking at Nando Wenyan. "Oh right, where's my wife?" Hua Fengliu was still looking at Yi Futian, so he changed the topic. "Did I agree to that?" Hua Fengliu laughed. "Are you going to bully your disciple as soon as your health recovers? Aren't you satisfied with such a great disciple? Plus, I already betrothed Jieyu to Futian. Don't you agree?" Nando Wenyan said from the side. Hua Fengliu glanced at her and muttered, "Whatever you say." Yi Futian blinked and moved to Nando Wenyan. "Masteress is the best." It seemed that he would have to stick to his masteress from now on. "Futian, Jieyu is cultivating in isolation. After the imperial advisor cured your master, he busied himself with Jieyu's cultivation," Nando Wenyan said gently. Hua Fengliu was still looking at Yi Futian dispiritedly. Their attitudes were way too different. Yi Futian gazed at imperial advisor Mo He. He seemed to have aged considerably, so Yi Futian asked, "What happened to Senior?" "It's all because of Jieyu. He wasn't even like this when healing your master," Nando Wenyan said, a little ashamed. "Princess, no need to worry. The royal family's life spirit is very strong. If Jieyu is evolving again, I will do whatever I can for her unique talent," Mo He said with a sigh. "If only I could have met her earlier." No one in Donghai city of Nando Nation understood the royal life spirit, let alone Jieyu's life spirit. "We are fortunate to meet you," Hua Fengliu also said. Mo He was the imperial mage of the Nando Nation's previous dynasty and went into war with the emperor. He was undoubtedly the one who understood the royal life spirit the most. His cultivated ability was special as well. Yi Futian smiled at their words. It appeared that Fox was more talented than he'd thought. It was a good thing that she met the right teacher. "How was the Nando Nation? Did you stir up a commotion at the Tingfeng banquet?" Hua Fengliu asked Yi Futian. "I only fought one battle." Yi Futian shrugged. He wasn't that sort of high-key person. "No news of Headmaster Yi?" Hua Fengliu asked again. "Senior Yi left safely after the Donghai city fight. If he's still in the country, he should hear about us," Yi Futian said. He was sure that Yu Sheng's exclamation would travel throughout the country. "Really?" Yi Qingshan gazed at him. "There was one winner from the 9 battle platforms of the Tingfeng banquet and all 9 are regarded highly. But your man went up and stepped on one, punched another guy down, and then ripped apart a guy in the first level Dharma plane. Then he yelled to everyone that he was Yu Sheng, a disciple of Yi Shang, so what do you think?" Yi Futian said to Yi Qingshan. Hearing Yi Futian's words, everyone gaped at Yu Sheng. He was too crazy. Yi Qingshan looked at him with reddening eyes while he just scratched his head boyishly. Yi Qingshan walked up and hit Yu Sheng's chest with her small fists. "Can you go somewhere else with your public displays of affection?" Yi Futian asked with a laugh. "Sure." Yi Qingshan smiled and pulled Yu Sheng away. The others talked about what happened at the Nando Nation and then Yi Futian went to cultivate. The ancient barren world was about to open up, Luo Junlin was going to the royal Zan temple to cultivate, and war was about to erupt between the Nando Nation and Kangye Kingdom. Time was running out. Soon after, violence broke out at the border between the two nations and the Nando Nation invaded the Kangye Kingdom. Of course, the Kangye Kingdom was well prepared. They had an eye on the Nando Nation, so a big war erupted. After countless days, someone came from the Kangye Palace, saying he was Yu Sheng's master. Yi Futian, Yu Sheng, Yi Qingshan, Tang Lan, Hua Fengliu, and the others all came out to welcome the guest and saw Yi Shang. "Father!" Yi Qingshan ran into Yi Zhang's arms, tears flowing instantly. "What are you crying for? You should be happy," Yi Shang said gently, patting his daughter's hair. "Master!" Yu Sheng and Tang Lan walked up. "Senior Yi," Hua Fengliu and Nando Wenyan called. Yi Shang had entered the Nando clan because of Yi Futian and Hua Jieyu. He'd risked his own life to fight off the school of the Emperor Star Headmaster to help all of them escape. Yi Shang looked at everyone and then said to Tang Lan, "They're all family, so what are you doing here?" "Master," Tang Lan replied a bit awkwardly. "Senior Yi," Nando Wenyan said, walking up. "I've been thinking about Fengliu and Tang Lan's wedding. Since you're here now, you can host it personally." Everyone gaped at Nando Wenyan. Even Hua Fengliu didn't know about this. "Wenyan, you," Hua Fengliu said, "you let Tang Lang down years ago. Do you want to do it again?" Nando Wenyan asked while Hua Fengliu smiled wryly. "You're talking nonsense." Tang Lan stared at Nando Wenyan. "Don't be stubborn. You went through so much these years. What's there to be insistent and reserved for? If you could move on, why did you buy the Gukan Gardens, take him in, and do so much for him?" Nando Wenyan said. Tang Lan didn't know what to say. Yi Futian watched all this, dumbfounded. His masteress was helping his master find another woman. He wondered if he should tell Jiayu to learn from her mother. Seeing that Tang Lan didn't refute Nando Wenyan's words, Yi Shang glanced at Hua Fengliu and said, "This can do." "Master." Tang Lan looked at Yi Shang. "You went against me for him back in the day. Where's your courage now?" Yi Shang said, looking hard at her. "Don't worry. With me here, no one can mistreat you. I'll take charge of this. This can do." He obviously understood his disciple. If she didn't feel strongly for him, she wouldn't keep Hua Fengliu by her side. However, without a title, she would have to leave sooner or later and live alone miserably. "I think it can do too. Aunt Tang, I'll have to call you second masteress from now on," Yi Futian said. He was the clearest about this relationship. Since masteress was willing to urge it on, there was no reason why it couldn't work out. Yi Shang looked at Yi Futian, his eyes approving the youth grudgingly. Yi Lingxi walked over at this moment. "Princess, what are you here for?" Yi Futian asked. "I heard that Senior Yi was here, so I wanted to meet him," Yi Lingxi said with a smile. Yi Shang was a bit confused. "You're too polite." "No, it's just that Senior Yi is a legend nowadays. My father would like to meet you too. In order to not disturb your reunion, my father prepared a dinner banquet to welcome Senior Yi," Yi Lingxi said. "Okay, I will go." Yi Shang nodded. "Then I'll leave now," Yi Lingxi said with a warm smile and left. "Not bad." Yi Shang eyed Yi Futian. Being invited personally by the princess and welcomed with a feast by the emperor was clearly not because of him. He also heard that Emperor Yi was even willing to go to war with Emperor Luo to protect Yi Futian. "Of course, I'm the disciple of the school of the finance star. I can't embarrass you, headmaster," Yi Futian replied, chuckling. "That's logical. Let's go." Yi Shang nodded and the group headed into the palace. Everyone smiled brightly because they were finally all here. Emperor Yi's dinner banquet would definitely have a great atmosphere. Chapter 149 Arrival. Chapter 149, Arrival. Time went by very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it had already been about 3 months since the Nando Nation's Tingfang banquet. The ancient barren world was about to open. The 100 lands were shaken up. Only God knows just how many cultivators from each nation were headed for the doors of the ancient barren world. Large armies set out and young prodigies were headed there as well. Things were the same in the Kangye kingdom. Prodigies and cultivators of all kinds gathered in the imperial city. They were ready to head out with the emperor. Emperor Yi was going to personally see them off. He wanted to make sure all of his people made it to the ancient barren world, safe and sound. In the imperial palace, on the mountain. These past few days, Yi Futian and Yu Sheng had been focused on closed-door cultivation. Their level of cultivation had seen improvement. They had both stepped into the 9-star glory plane. They were only one step away from the Dharma plane. On this day, Yi Futian ended his closed-door cultivation. "You're finally willing to come out." From a corner of the courtyard, Tang Lan saw Yi Futian and gave him a smile. "It's been a while since I last saw this rascal. Second masteress, you're getting more and more beautiful." He smiled at her teasingly. A couple days after Nando Wenyan proposed the marriage, Hua Fengliu and Tang Lan held a simple ceremony on the mountain and tied the knot with Yi Shang as their witness. They were truly one big family now. "Are you itching to get beat?" Tang Lan laughed at Yi Futian. This punk really shows no respect for his elders. However, She had also noticed herself become more beautiful. Perhaps it was because of her good mood. Second Masteress, I'm only stating facts. After you got together with Master, you have indeed become more beautiful, Yi Futian explained, sincerely. Tang Lan glared at him for a while and then turned away. Her face flushed red like a little girl. I'm so envious of Master, Yi Futian thought to himself. I'm heading out of the mountains for a bit. After that, he left the courtyard and made his way down to the imperial palace. He went looking for Yi Danshan and Yi Lingxi. Then, they went to see Emperor Yi altogether. I heard you've been conducting closed-door cultivation sessions. Why did you stop? Asked Emperor Yi. We have to head for the ancient barren world in a couple of days. I've thought it over. I want to go with you guys, answered Yi Futian. You want to enter the ancient barren world while still in the glory plane? Emperor Yi stared at him. Do you know how big of a deal this is? All of the 100 lands are shaken up. Even I can't predict just how many people will show up. Besides, this is just the cultivators from the 100 lands. Not counting those in the ancient barren world, your current level of cultivation is truly a little too low. Your Majesty, didn't you say that aside from fate and chance the ancient barren world is no different from the outside world? We can just think of it as outdoor training. Don't worry, Your Majesty, I'll keep a low profile, said Yi Futian. If you go, Emperor Luo will definitely send people after you, said Emperor Yi. This will actually be a hassle. Your Majesty, then why don't you lend me some magical items? Attack, defense, and escape. How about a couple items for each? Yi Futian asked with a genuine smile. Emperor Yi smiled at Yi Futian. He finally realized that he couldn't get too friendly with this rascal. Emperor Yi refused to believe that Yi Futian had not considered the Nando nation. Yi Futian was obviously scamming him. Borrow some magical items. Would he really return what he borrowed? Yi Futian continued when Emperor Yi didn't speak. Your Majesty, prodigies from all throughout the 100 lands are headed for the ancient barren world. I can't let you be embarrassed as the future groom of a princess. Good point. Emperor Yi smiled at him. Are you the only one going? Yu Sheng should be coming along, answered Yi Futian. You too, bring him and Yu Sheng to the treasury to pick their magical items, Emperor Yi said to Yi Danshan and his sister. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yi Futian smiled. Emperor Yi was even willing to start a war with Emperor Luo for his sake. Yi Futian knew that he wouldn't be stingy with just a couple magical items. Yi Futian kept note of everything he owed to Emperor Yi in his heart. The door to the lower ancient barren world cannot hold the energy of the Arcana plane. So, even for magical items, you can only bring those of the highest level Dharma plane. Also, magical items are only supplementary. It does not directly give you the power of the Dharma plane. The use of magical items is also not beneficial to cultivation. Only use the items when you are in dire need to do so, warned Emperor Yi. Don't worry, Your Majesty. I know this very well, said Yi Futian. He wouldn't have thought to use magical items if his level wasn't so low. Days later. A cool morning on the mountains. Quite a lot of people were gathered in the courtyard. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were about to head out for the ancient barren world. Yi Shang would be joining them on this journey. He also wanted to train in the upper ancient barren world. Futian, be very careful when you get there, reminded Nando Wenyan. Don't worry, Masteress, I'll be fine, nodded Yi Futian. I'm going to see Jieyu now. All right, Nando Wenyan nodded her head, and Yi Futian headed for the back mountains. Hua Jieyu was sitting cross-legged. With her eyes closed, an invisible force field of spiritual energy encapsulated her. There were rocks floating in the air, revolving around her at a steady pace. It seemed as though the spiritual chi revolved around her in a set orbit. It was as if it were possible to communicate with and control everything on Earth with spiritual energy. Yi Futian became curious. When he had stepped into this area which was filled with spiritual energy, he could feel himself being wrapped in the energy. He had experienced this same feeling only once better. It was during that battle in front of the school of the Emperor Star. Except, this time, the feeling was much stronger. I'm leaving now. Next time, we'll go together, Yi Futian spoke to the goddess-like Hua Jieyu quietly sitting there. His eyes were gentle and a warm smile spread across his face. Then, he turned around and left. A group of people left the mountains and walked out of the imperial palace. Outside the palace, crowds of people were already gathered. Some of them were already well acquainted with Yi Futian. The pride of the Fenghua rank, Yi Wuchen, had also decided to head to the ancient barren world. He was now in the third-level Dharma plane, so obviously, he was not going to wait any longer. There were also many students of Kengye College who wanted to enter the ancient barren world. Their uniforms made them stick out like a sore thumb. Zhuo Qinfen and Yu Zhong were also among the crowd. They obviously wanted to tag along with some senior brothers from the college to do the trial. Cultivators from the Qin clan and Demon clan had gathered as well. Bai Chu was also present. Even Lin Yuyao was going. The Fenghua banquet and the Tingfeng banquet had greatly affected her. After 3 months of cultivation, she had made her way into the Dharma plane. Now, she was able to enter the ancient barren world with the rest of her clan. There were also many other clans Yi Futian did not know of. Imagine all that power gathered in one place. Looks like nobody could stand the wait, thought Yi Futian. The mysterious ancient barren world was just too tempting. Many lower-level Dharma plane cultivators could not wait to step into this new world. And of course, besides those in the Dharma plane, there were many powerful elders present as well. Powerful Arcana plane cultivators wanted to head into the upper ancient barren world. Just then, Emperor Yi arrived with his people following behind as they trailed out of the palace. "Your Majesty, Your Highness." Everyone bowed to greet Emperor Yi and the young man beside him. His features were sharp and he had a strong aura. He was Emperor Yi's eldest son, Yi Shao. He was in the highest level Dharma plane. Yi Futian had seen Yi Shao at the Fenghua banquet, but there were no exchanges between them. He was only close with Yi Danshan and Yi Lingxi because they were close in age. Yi Shao would be the only one of the Emperor's children entering the ancient barren world. Yi Danshan and Yi Lingxi's level of cultivation was still too low. Besides Yi Shao, there were many more high-level Dharma plane cultivators following behind Emperor Yi. They were well-trained imperial guards and would be accompanying the group on their journey. "Are you all ready?" Emperor Yi asked everyone in the crowd. Sweeping his eyes across each face, he saw many of them nod. "Let's go then." At this, everyone lifted up into the skies and headed in the same direction. Mounted on the dragon in the sky were Emperor Yi and his people. Everyone else had their own form of transportation. The Demon clan had an array of beasts, a truly impressive lineup indeed. Just then, a black-winged eagle landed on the back of the dragon and settled beside Yi Futian. The people around looked over at Yi Futian in confusion. This guy is now super famous in the imperial city. Is this thing his beast companion? Seems quite unfitting. But Yi Futian did not care what they thought. He simply petted the eagle's head. This beast was gifted to him by the snow ape, but regardless of that reason, they had built a deep relationship over time. The black-winged eagle's powers were nothing out of the ordinary, but what of it? Who says they couldn't improve? There was only one entrance to the ancient barren world in the 100 Lands. It was located at the border of the 100 Lands. Starting in the Kengye Kingdom, Emperor Yi and the rest passed over multiple nations before arriving many days later. It was an extremely mountainous area. Upon arrival, Yi Futian and the others discovered palaces built all around. They seemed like clan residences. This was nothing like the barren lands that Emperor Yi had told them about. They sure do get things done quickly. Looking down from the sky, Emperor Yi saw that the once barren land had been transformed into a city. Many buildings had been erected. It was obvious to him, the other countries had already begun to claim their land. Rumors say that the great powers of the Eastern Barren Territory settle at the entrance of the ancient barren world. They dominate the entrance, allowing clan members to enter the ancient barren world as they pleased. Seems like our friends from the 100 Lands learn quite quickly. But there doesn't seem to be a single person who has been able to completely monopolize the entrance, said Emperor Yi. Everyone listened as the emperor spoke and they reached an understanding. This was the difference between regular people and those of great power. Powerful people treated the ancient barren world as their personal resource for cultivation. Meanwhile, the people of the 100 Lands had only just been granted access to the ancient barren world. They were so far behind. Everyone looked straight ahead and saw a mystical space in the sky. This area was warped around an enormous door. Below it was a massive matrix. In the center of the terrifying matrix formation was a beam of light radiating with the noble power. The beam struck onto the door in the sky, causing this door leading to the ancient barren world to become distorted, as if it were about to open at any moment. This matrix was most likely created by the powerful cultivators of the Eastern Barren Territory. It was placed here to activate the door to the ancient barren world. Right now, there were hordes of people gathered in the area around the door. Emperors of every country in the 100 Lands had led the people here. Each of their lineups seemed extremely strong. Emperor Yi and his people slowed down as they approached the large group. The emperors already gathered turned their attention to the newcomers and smiled. Another kingdom has arrived. Chapter 150 Living a Good Life. Chapter 150 Living a Good Life. Emperor Yi, an emperor in the noble plane, called from the near distance. They clearly knew each other. Emperor Yi smiled at the other. Emperor Han, you came so quickly. I'm actually quite late. When I arrived, the palaces were already built, Emperor Han said, smiling. It's a waste of time, another emperor said from the side. He stood on a mountain peak, his hands behind his back with an arrogant aura. Indeed, there is no use in snatching territories when the barren ancient world opens. The most important thing is to take the noble fate and create noble figures. Of course, if a young talent becomes noticed by a strong force while doing so, it's the same. The noble fate is not so easy to receive. This time, the lineup is very big and powerful, but how many can actually become nobles? One emperor was not optimistic. With so many prides here, there must be some monstrously talented ones, Emperor Han said. As long as they can create the noble fate, they'll catch the attention of the Eastern Barren Territory's forces. I heard that this was so for the Nando nation's crown prince, resulting in the royal Zon temple accepting him as a disciple. I heard that Emperor Yi had caused a commotion in the Nando nation earlier too. I was only invited to attend by Emperor Luo, Emperor Yi replied with a light chuckle. Emperor Yi, no need to be modest. I heard that the Kangye kingdom has 3 new monstrous figures and displayed amazing talent at the Tingfeng banquet. Unfortunately, their planes are quite low. Otherwise, they would definitely steal the show in the barren ancient world. Emperor Han laughed. Judging from your good mood, you must be very confident in the prides of your kingdom, Emperor Yi replied. The emperors conversed mindlessly while the youths behind them all looked at each other with sharp eyes. Coming to the barren ancient world this time, they must get the noble fate. If they could catch the attention of the strong forces, they could rise to the top like Luo Junlin and be congratulated by all the emperors. And that was only due to becoming a disciple of the royal Zon temple. If they could really become a noble, it would be even better. Emperor Yi, you haven't changed. A group of figures strode over from the side. Emperor Yi looked and saw Emperor Chu with the people of the Yunshu nation. Chu Quangren was amongst that crowd. His sharp eyes scanned the group behind Emperor Yi and fell upon Yi Futian, Yi Wuchen, and the others. His eyes turned cold. Yi Futian seemed to sense it. Seeing Chu Quangren looking at him, he smiled. To Chu Quangren, the smile was mocking and his eyes turned frigid. The people of the Yan Kingdom and Nando Nation had arrived too. Seeing the Kangye citizens, their eyes all shot over to Yi Futian. Emperor Luo even uttered some orders to the people beside him. He couldn't believe Yi Futian really had the guts to come. As time passed, more and more strong cultivators arrived. Around the matrix, the spiritual chi went wild. They gathered within the matrix and shot above the barren ancient world's floating door, distorting it. Countless eyes looked at the door in the air, full of anticipation. A terrifying sound rang out from the air. The distorted gate opened and transformed into 2 halves. Black vortexes appeared, spinning in turn. Like black holes trying to swallow everything, a powerful force tried to close again but was blocked by the power shooting from the matrix. What a strong matrix! No wonder the barren ancient world is separated from the 100 Lands, everyone thought. With the abilities of the people of the 100 Lands, they couldn't create this matrix at all. All the powerful cultivators gathered. Looking up to the air, it was like a terrifying army going out to war. Remember, an emperor reminded his people, those under the Arcana plane can't take weapons of the Arcana plane. The doors to the upper and lower ancient barren worlds are one entity, and the lower world can't take the arcana aura. It will take you to the upper world. He was worried someone would secretly take a valuable item of the arcana plane. Go now. I must return with the noble fate during this expedition into the barren ancient world. Countless voices rang out. The army surged into the vortex in the air and disappeared. Go, Emperor Yi said as well. Yi Xiao instantly led the strong cultivators of the Kangye kingdom. Yi Futian followed the group into the vortex. A terrifying engulfing power descended. He felt the air distort and he was swallowed into the unknown space. Boom. Landing. Yi Futian stabilized himself and looked up at the world. The blue sky, white clouds, and vast land stretched as far as he could see. This legendary world looked just like the outside world. The people of the Kangye kingdom gradually descended around them. They'd gone through the vortex and landed together. The people of other countries were in the distance. Looking back, the black hole was still in the sky. Yi Futian's eyes fell on Yi Xiao in the near distance. Your Highness, let's go. The Nando people had been staring at Yi Futian, probably wanting to cause trouble. He didn't want that. We're here to challenge ourselves. My father said to not rely on others. Yi Futian, we won't travel together, Yi Xiao said. Yi Futian was taken aback. Many people moved towards Yi Xiao. They were from the Kangye college, which caused him to make a face. Chuckling indifferently, Yi Futian said, goodbye. Then he called, Yu Sheng. He climbed onto the black wind eagle. Yu Sheng followed and glared at Yi Xiao. Yi Futian pulled out a spell scroll. Instantly, a strong wind spell fell upon the black wind eagle. They transformed into a gust of wind and left. A moment later, the strong cultivators of the Nando nation landed in another part of the barren ancient world. They all scanned the Kangye group but were taken aback when they couldn't find Yi Futian. Where did he go? They walked toward the Kangye group and asked coolly, where's Yi Futian? Yi Xiao gazed coldly and ignored him. Go catch him yourself, Zuo Qinfen said from the Kangye college group. The man from the Nando nation's eyes flashed and he waved. Go. Yi Futian would sometimes go to the side while advancing, avoiding a straight line. He also continuously used the spell scroll to travel at top speed. Wind beat down on them from atop the black wind eagle. Why did Yi Xiao do that? Yu Sheng asked. Everyone knew that Emperor Yi thought highly of them and their brilliant talent. I heard that the Kangye college is backed by the royalty. Some princes cultivate there. Yi Futian chuckled nonchalantly. He defended the Kangye college at the Fenghua banquet. Of course, that's not the main reason. Yi Futian glanced at Yu Sheng. The emperor treats us well, and we have a good relationship with Yi Danshan. Yu Sheng's eyes were cold. We don't want to be involved in their family matters. That's not what others think, Yi Futian said, chuckling. Don't overthink the small things. Isn't it great like this? Yi Futian looked at the vast land up ahead and felt his entire heart opening up. He'd been restricted ever since he started cultivating and felt quite repressed. The ancient barren world was like a free land and he was like a bird that could fly as high as he wanted. Yu Sheng looked forward, feeling the same kind of freedom. The lower ancient barren world can only contain those in the Dharma plane. We'll take over it within 5 years. Can you be a bit more subtle? Yi Futian gave him a look. He was only in the glory plane but he already wanted to control the lower ancient barren world. The strongest cultivators of the entire eastern barren territory were gathered here. Yu Sheng looked at him. Does this guy know what subtle means? Yi Futian looked forward and smiled. Isn't 5 years too long? Yu Sheng blinked. The two continued forward without seeing anyone. The barren ancient world was a microcosm of the eastern barren territory, but for people under the arcana plane, it was still extremely vast. After countless days, Yi Futian could only see the occasional demon flying in the sky or beasts on the ground. Sometimes, they were even in the Dharma plane. When the demons watched them, Yi Futian ignored them and forged on. However, there was a demon hovering above and following them now. It was a wind rock at the Dharma plane and it was extremely fast. Yi Futian stared at the rock. He could feel a strange melody coming from it as it flew. He observed it with the freedom meditation and realized that it would sometimes become one with the wind and ride the wind. Yu Sheng, he called. Yu Sheng took a step back on the Black Wind Eagle. He carried a huge hammer and the 9-star glory plane aura was released. As if sensing his weak aura, menace flashed past the Wind Rock's eyes. It transformed into wind and caught up with the Black Wind Eagle, clawing at Yu Sheng. Yu Sheng flashed and jumped down. Wings sprouted and his hammer radiated with a frightening aura. It flashed with dazzling gold light and he brought it down on the Wind Rock. Sensing danger, the Wind Rock actually sped up when Yu Sheng's hammer came down. It transformed into an afterimage that moved with the wind and charged out of Yu Sheng's range, coming directly for Yi Futian. Yi Futian had been watching the Wind Rock's moves. He grasped a wand that glowed with green light. The wood elemental spiritual chi surged and the lock of 1,000 vines was released. It loomed towards the Wind Rock. The strange rhythmic strength appeared on the Wind Rock again. However, the lock of 1,000 vines spell seemed to predict its path. It locked onto the Wind Rock and wrapped around it. Yu Sheng landed and swung his hammer. The Wind Rock cried and dropped to the ground. "We can eat rock for dinner," Yi Futian said. The Black Wind Eagle landed. After a while, there was a delicious smell. The 2 humans and 1 demon enjoyed the delicious roasted Wind Rock. "Oh," Yi Futian arched his eyebrow. His body released an ephemeral aura. "Is this fate?" Yi Futian had an odd expression. The same kind of aura came from Yu Sheng as well. Yi Futian glanced at the Black Wind Eagle, and then the bird shot into the sky. It flew with a pleasantly strange rhythm. Seeming to understand something instantly, a smile appeared in Yi Futian's eyes. "So that's what fate is," he murmured. The Black Wind Eagle landed before him with a pitiful look. "Want more?" Seeing the Black Wind Eagle's gaze, Yi Futian petted its head and chuckled. "Don't worry, I'll let you live a good life from now on." Chapter 151 Chinmeng City. Chapter 151, Chinmeng City. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng continued on their merry way. They traveled through a barren area where demon beasts roamed from time to time. However, there was not another person to be seen. On the Black Wind Eagle, Yu Sheng asked, "Do you know what fate is?" Yi Futian nodded his head. Fate is similar to the power of will. That beast was able to assimilate into the wind. It probably has a strong will of the wind that it acquired in some hidden ancient plane within the ancient barren world. Or maybe he ate something special to gain this power, and in the ancient barren world, this type of power transformed into fate. Once this fate grows to a certain point, it might be able to go through some changes, resulting in noble fate. A person who acquires noble fate had the potential to become a strong noble plane cultivator. This process probably depends on how well you can grasp the concepts. Yi Futian hypothesized as such because he had once felt the power of will. This felt similar. "You can see the fate of that beast?" asked Yu Sheng. "As long as it reveals these types of powers, it's easy to tell." Yi Futian smiled. The Black Wind Eagle continued forward. Every now and then, they would leave behind fire and the sweet smells of barbecued meat. On their journey, the good food never stopped. The fate within their bodies was collecting and growing. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng discovered that it was possible to incorporate this fate into their own powers, increasing their abilities. Half a month later, Yi Futian and Yu Sheng finally saw other human beings. They were hunting on these barren lands. Not too far ahead, the ground was shaking. Yi Futian looked over and saw a crazed demon bear running around. The beast was completely white. The ground it walked across frosted over. "Yu Sheng," called Yi Futian. Yu Sheng understood right away. He bolted toward the demon bear with the hammer in his hand. The demon beast lifted its head. Its eyes blazed with anger. It roared loudly and Yu Sheng was covered in a layer of frost. He was going to be sealed in ice. An icy cold force of will exploded from the demon bear. Golden armor appeared on Yu Sheng's body and with both hands, he waved around a giant hammer. The power from this action broke through the ice seal and the force charged at the beast. It was as if the demon beast could feel that Yu Sheng did not have much energy because it lifted into the air abruptly and tried to attack him with full force. There was a loud noise followed by a heart-wrenching scream from the demon bear. Its large body then fell from the skies and crashed into the ground. "That's going to be another big meal," said Yi Futian with shining eyes. The power of fire in his body gathered and a moment later, dinner was served. A line of figures approached from afar and stopped in the air above Yi Futian. Among the group, there were 3 males and 2 females. They were all fairly young. The 2 females looked very similar, and although they each gave off a different vibe, they were both extremely beautiful. "Pardon me, but we have been chasing after that ice bear for quite a while, and we're also the ones who incapacitated the beast," said a young man. Yu Sheng looked over him emotionlessly. "Within the 4 seas, all men are brothers. Come eat with us." Yi Futian nonchalantly invited the group to join in on their meal. The 5 exchanged looks of concern. They were unclear of Yi Futian and Yu Sheng's abilities. They all nodded and seated themselves on the ground. "Are the 2 of you also from Qinmeng City?" asked the young man. Qinmeng City. Yi Futian's eyes lit up. It seemed like they were nearing the city. The 2 of them had spent these past days in barren land and were bored out of their minds. "You guys don't know?" asked one girl on the side. Yi Futian looked over at her and replied, "No, we don't. We entered the ancient barren land not too long ago and have been traveling through the deserted land. We have yet to reach a city. Is Qinmeng a city nearby? Are you guys from the 100 Lands?" the other girl asked. "Yeah," Yi Futian nodded. It seemed these people had reached the city before they could, but that was normal. After all, the Black Wind Eagle was not very fast and they made many detours. The 2 of them had also stopped to hunt demon beasts along the way. It was only natural that their speed was slower than others. Seeing Yi Futian nod his head, the 3 youths finally let down their guard. "So, they're natives of the 100 Lands." The 100 Lands was located at the border of the Eastern Barren Territory. The youths had heard that the door to the ancient barren world had just opened to them not too long ago. "Since you guys are from the 100 Lands, you must not know much about the ancient barren world," said one of the young men. He then bent down to chow down on the barbecued meat. There was no need to hold back anymore. There was a hint of arrogance in his tone of voice. "That's true. So, please take care of us in the future," Yi Futian chuckled. "My name is Yi Futian and this is my brother from another mother, Yu Sheng," he introduced. Yi Futian's smile made him look as harmless as a baby. Although the 17-year-old was now much more mature, he had yet to evolve completely. He was still partly that same immature, happy-go-lucky boy he used to be. "My name is Ruo Yu and this is my older sister, Ruo Chu," said one of the girls. Her sweet smile gave her a gentle, loving vibe while her sister looked to be more on the cold and distant side. "Very nice," said a young man. He smiled lightly but did not introduce himself. One of his friends followed. "You both look so young. To be able into the ancient barren world from the 100 Lands, you guys must have some outstanding gifts." "Our gifts are nothing out of the ordinary. We're only in the 9-star glory plane," Yi Futian answered matter-of-factly. "Brother Yi, you must be joking. The highest level of cultivation among our group is a 4th-level Dharma plane and we were still unable to stop that beast. We had our own beast to help in its capture. Besides, the demon bear was already hurt. We were barely able to defeat it ourselves," replied Yi Futian. The group looked over at the Black Wind Eagle and nodded. All of them continued to feast as they chatted, and very quickly, Yi Futian was able to gather information as well as get a feel for each of them. Wang Ju, 4th-level Dharma plane, had the highest level of cultivation among the group. Ji Yu Cheng was in the 3rd-level Dharma plane. Ji Yu Zhong, 2nd-level Dharma plane, was Ji Yu Cheng's younger brother. Ruo Chu was also 2nd level, while Ruo Yu was in the 1st level. The 5 of them had the same powerful force backing them. Wang Ju was steady, the Ji Yu brothers were a little arrogant, Ruo Chu was aloof, and Ruo Yu was very friendly and uncalculating. Most of the information Yi Futian acquired was thanks to her. They all came from a city not far from where they were, Qinmeng City. The demon bear was devoured and settled nicely in the stomachs of the 7 youths. As the group of 5 was preparing to depart, Ruo Yu asked, "Are you guys going to Qinmeng City? Want to go together?" "All right." Yi Futian nodded in agreement. There was still a lot he wanted to find out. "Have a lot of people from the 100 Lands arrived at Qinmeng City?" asked Yi Futian, mounted on the Black Wind Eagle. The group had made their way into the skies. "Quite a few. There has been quite some commotion in the city," answered Ji Yu Zhong. "Yi Futian, the people from the 100 lands all arrived in Chinmeng City in large groups. You guys didn't ally with great powers. It's embarrassing to talk about it. We were abandoned by our group because of our low levels of cultivation, Yi Futian answered sadly. So that's why. Well, you guys were able to travel so far without becoming a meal for demon beasts. You should already count yourselves lucky, laughed Ji Yu Zhong. You guys sure have guts. Entering the ancient barren world in the glory plane, Ruo Yu chuckled and flew closer to land on the black wind eagle. The ancient barren world opened and many people came. It was only natural that we would also want to give it a try ourselves. We're not fighting for anything with anyone, so it shouldn't be too dangerous, right? Said Yi Futian. Ruo Yu nodded lightly. There are a couple ways to acquire fate. Demon beasts, some rare plants have hidden fate, and the many relics in the ancient barren world. You can acquire fate in these ways, but the most direct way would be to steal it. You guys are of such a low level of cultivation, plus you guys don't possess much fate within, so naturally, no one would try to steal from you too. Stealing is also a way? Asked Yi Futian. The rest of the Chinmeng group looked at Yi Futian and had a laugh. They were indeed natives from the 100 lands. They didn't even know how to acquire fate. Of course, use your own fate to swallow that of others. With the aid of fate, powerful cultivators can defeat others and order them to release their own fates to be absorbed by the stronger force. People who are truly cruel will simply kill their opponents to take their fate, explained Ruo Yu. She looked at Yi Futian. You don't even know this. There was now a sparkle in Yi Futian's eyes. It seemed he finally understood how Emperor Luo stole the fate of the original Nando Emperor all those years ago. He was sly, stealing all of the Emperor's fate. It was no longer a mystery why Emperor Yi tried to persuade Yi Futian not to enter the ancient barren world at a low level of cultivation. In here, people at the lower level of cultivation were prey for the others. They were at the mercy of everyone else. Even if they managed to acquire fate, in the end, it was only going to benefit those who were more powerful. They continued forward until finally, Yi Futian was able to catch his first glimpse of the city. More and more people came into view. The city ahead was not very big. It could not even compare with the Kangye Kingdom's imperial city, but the beauty was in its simplicity. It was a city of the ancient barren world after all. The people who came here were after fate. Everything they did was for the sake of cultivation. This is Chinmeng City, said Ruo Yu as she looked ahead. This city was made by our fellow Chinmeng citizens as a meeting point in the ancient barren world. Entering the ancient barren world from the Chinmeng area, we are able to arrive directly in this historic city. Yi Futian already knew this, even on the way here. The Chinmeng area was similar to the 100 lands in the sense that they also had many family clans, but the difference was, their clans were stronger and more powerful. All their clans had a common leader who controlled all of Chinmeng as well as their entrance to the ancient barren world. In the outside world, in order to get from the 100 lands to the center of the eastern barren territory, you must pass through the Chinmeng area. The group entered the city. In the air with them were demon beasts all around. Among them were some very rare powerful demons. Compared to them, the black wind eagle did indeed look very ordinary. The ancient Chinmeng city consisted of people in all different planes. People of power from the Chinmeng area would enter the ancient barren world for practice even if they were not in the upper-level Dharma planes. After some time, the group of youths arrived at an inn. Many people were gathered in the lobby, drinking and chatting. You're back, a young man said to Ruo Chu and the others. Senior brother Yan greeted Ruo Chu. The others followed suit. The young man nodded in acknowledgement. Then, his eyes fell on Yi Futian and Yu Sheng. Who are they? He asked. They're from the 100 lands. We met them on the way and since we were all headed here, we served as their guide, answered Ruo Chu. The 100 lands. The young man lifted his brows and followed by saying, don't just bring any back here in the future. Then, I'll make them leave, said Ruo Chu. No need, I'll let it go this time. The young man shook his head then said, we'll head to the Kang Mountain relic together tomorrow. A look crossed Ruo Chu's face but she only nodded her head. The young man walked away from the group. Yi Futian stood quietly in the back and observed the whole scene. He had a weird expression in his eyes. Seems like we treated them to a meal of bear meat for no reason. Ruo Chu's words made things very obvious. There was not a single hint of gratitude. Chapter 152 Poetry on the Wall. Chapter 152 Poetry on the Wall. Ruo Yu looked at Yi Futian apologetically and said softly, "Don't be angry. Senior Yan is like that. He's strict but his cultivation talent is extraordinarily high. I'm not angry at him." Yi Futian shrugged. Senior Yan didn't know him, so it was logical to not want to bring him with. However, Ruo Chu's words weren't that nice. "Is this in part of your clan?" Yi Futian asked. "No." Ruo Yu shook her head. "I see. Then I won't have to worry about getting kicked out." Yi Futian walked away with a smile. Yu Sheng and the Black Wind Eagle followed behind him. They found a worker and prepared to stay here. Brother Yi's temper is quite big. Ji Yu Zhong smiled faintly after hearing Yi Futian's words. "Let's go," Wang Ju said. Ruo Yu's eyes sparkled. She finally knew why Yi Futian was angry. Thinking for a bit, she walked up to her sister and said, "They invited us to eat the demon bear's meat and we could travel together because we were going to the same place." "Why did you have to say that? What do you know?" Ruo Chu glared at her. "You're inexperienced. In that situation, those 2 9-star glory plane cultivators had to invite us, but did you see how he tried to get close? I think he has an ulterior motive." "I think Yi Futian isn't that bad," Ruo Yu said nonchalantly. "Even if he has another motive, it'll just be to explore the lower ancient barren world deeper. It's not that big of a deal." "Ruo Yu, you trust people too easily," Ji Yu Cheng said. "You should be a bit more cautious for these chance meetings." "I know," Ruo Yu replied, still not caring. "You all go first." With that, she waited in place. A few moments later, the worker brought Yi Futian over. "Waiting for me?" Yi Futian asked her. "Yeah," Ruo Yu nodded. "My sister has a bad temper. Please don't mind her. She might have misjudged you. Your sister probably thinks I have an ulterior motive, which isn't wrong. I know nothing about the ancient barren world. I really do want to learn some things from you all," Yi Futian admitted honestly. "That doesn't count," Ruo Yu said, shaking her head. "I can tell you whatever you want to know. What is the Kang Mountain relic that your senior was talking about? Are there other relics around Qinmeng City?" Yi Futian asked. "The Kang Mountain relic has some stone walls carved with words and paintings. It's a mysterious place, but it contains fate," Ruo Yu said. "Many people go there every day and a good many of talented people reach enlightenment there. However, no one has ever been able to completely solve the mystery. Perhaps they aren't high enough in plane. Other relics definitely exist, but tomorrow, let's go to the Kang Mountain relic. You can see a lot of powerful figures from the Qinmeng City. Many people from your 100 lands should be there too." "I'll go by myself," Yi Futian said, smiling. "I'll take you there without them. You don't know the way," Ruo Yu said after pondering for a moment. "Okay, let's go together. I don't want your senior and sister to be unhappy." Yi Futian saw how stubborn Ruo Yu was and didn't want to make it hard for her. "Okay, I'll go find you tomorrow when we set out," Ruo Yu said. The next day, Ruo Yu really did come to find Yi Futian and they left soon after. Ruo Chu's group was already outside the inn. Seeing Ruo Yu with Yi Futian, Ruo Chu glared while Ji Yu Zhong smiled. "Brother Yi, are you going to the Kang Mountain relic too?" "Yes, I want to take a look." Yi Futian nodded. "Since we're going to the same place, let's go together," Ji Yu Zhong said, slightly smiling. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were still going to follow them. 2 glory plane cultivators had to find some support in the ancient barren world. "Let's go," Yan Lu said, and the group instantly soared into the sky. Yi Futian and Yu Sheng followed behind on the Black Wind Eagle. Ruo Yu also rode with them, chatting mindlessly. As the name implied, the Kang Mountain relic was in the Kang Mountain, south of the Qinmeng City. It was beside the sea, standing right where the mountains and sea met. Strange rocks were everywhere and many were smooth as if people sat on them a lot. The Kang Mountain relic was here. The strange rocks faced various stone walls in different directions. The walls were all carved with writing and images. When Yi Futian's group arrived, there were already many people there. This was one of the places where fate could be born, so strong cultivators came for enlightenment throughout the year. Yan Lu and the others weren't so eye-catching anymore. Everyone here was the cream of the crop of Chinmeng City, and there were more than enough famous figures. It's senior sister Yun, Ruo Chu said, looking somewhere. Yan Lu and the others followed her gaze. A beautiful figure stood atop a large rock in the middle of the stone walls. The sea wind blew in from the sea, fluttering her clothing. Her clothes and hair flew in the breeze while she focused calmly on a wall. Her brows were curved like crescent moons. She was extremely dazzling and many eyes fell on her. She was obviously an extraordinary figure and stood out from the crowd. Yan Lu's group approached her and bowed in greeting. Senior Yun. Yun Chinmo glanced at Yan Lu. She nodded and then focused back on the stone wall. Didn't you all enter the ancient barren world together? Yi Futian asked Ruo Yu curiously. Ruo Yu rolled her eyes. The ancient barren world has always been open. Whoever wants to train can come with whoever they want. Clans don't all come at once unless something big happened. Plus, our clan is big while senior sister Yun is an upper disciple. We rarely see each other, let alone come together. Yi Futian started to understand this. The Chinmeng city must have many powerful clans and the ancient barren world had been open for years. He couldn't see things from the point of the 100 lands. Yun Chinmo, how are you feeling? A voice suddenly rang out. It was a figure standing on another large stone. He wore a long dark robe and was extraordinarily handsome. Yun Chinmo glanced at him indifferently and didn't reply. The youth smiled, not minding. Continuing to look at the stone wall before him, he smiled and said, I received some inspiration but I still need some time to understand this wall. Lu Yuan, Ruo Yu said softly, he's one of the top geniuses of the Chinmeng area. He's extremely talented. Yi Futian nodded. Those two had taken great spots. There were geniuses from other places studying around them. At this moment, Yan Lu's group all walked toward a wall, the one Yun Chinmo was studying. Yi Futian also looked over and saw a line of words. 1,000 threads of rain, 100 meters of mountain, a sword's cold flash cuts the sadness of farewell. Yi Futian murmured as he looked at the wall. It seemed to be a poem. He wondered who would carve such poetic words. He could also feel a sharp sword aura from the words. It seemed as if the words would jump out and transform into sword intent. It's sword techniques, Yi Futian said. Brother Yi, do you think we don't know? Ji Yuzhong asked, turning around and chuckling. Indeed, it is a set of sword techniques but no one has been able to completely decipher its artistic conception, Ruo Yu said. Many copied it down and took it back to their elders but they still couldn't be enlightened. However, the talented ones can feel a shred of the artistic conception and receive fate of varying levels. Yi Futian chuckled. His freedom meditation spun and the world instantly changed before his eyes. All details became extremely clear. He looked at the stone wall and the words seemed to jump into his mind, becoming three-dimensional. They changed, subtly becoming some sort of shape, no longer ordinary words. They were more like the shape of a sword. At that moment, Yi Futian clearly felt a powerful sword intent rush into his mind as if he could begin practicing swordsmanship if he wanted. With the will, Yi Futian felt a shred of sword fate in his body. He gathered his thoughts and looked at Ruo Yu with an odd expression. What's wrong? Ruo Yu had to ask after seeing Yi Futian's strange look. Nothing, he replied quietly. The so-called artistic conception of the poem seemed to be pretty easy. 1,000 threads of rain. The sword is like 1,000 threads, splashing like rain, Yan Lu mumbled as he looked at the wall. Ruo Chu's eyes brightened and she smiled, saying, such a great artistic conception. This set of sword techniques must be shockingly strong. But what does the 100 meters of mountain mean? If the first sentence is saying that the sword is as fast as rain, is the second describing the sword's weight? Yan Lu was uncertain. Senior brother, you are so wise. There seems to be a way to decipher the artistic conception of the poem, Ji Yuzhong said. Yi Futian couldn't help but chuckle. He knew that this wasn't a poem so there obviously wasn't an artistic conception of the poem. What are you laughing about? Ruo Chu turned around and asked. No one could decipher the poem's artistic conception all these years. Isn't it a waste of time to go down the same path? Yi Futian asked in return. So you understand, Ruo Chu replied coldly. Then tell me the true meaning of this poem. Perhaps it isn't a poem and it doesn't have an artistic conception. Perhaps they're just words, Yi Futian said. Nonsense. Ruo Chu heard Yi Futian's words and said coolly, for countless years, talents have found the artistic conception and received their fates. They just couldn't decipher it completely, and yet you think they're only words. Do you think they're all wrong? Maybe, Yi Futian said with a smile. Ruo Chu froze and then scoffed. You're only in the glory plane and yet you speak so brazenly. Are you trying to seem unique to attract our attention? Yi Futian looked at Ruo Chu. This woman was even more conceited than him. Why would he want to attract her attention? You got me. Yi Futian sighed and shrugged at Yu Sheng. Let's go. Ruo Chu smirked. I knew it. Yu Sheng glanced at her coolly. With her looks, where did she get the confidence? Chapter 153 An Unordinary Guy. Chapter 153, An Unordinary Guy. Seeing that Yi Futian and Yu Sheng were walking away, Ruo Yu glared at Ruo Chu and said, Sis, can you stop talking with such a nasty attitude? Didn't you hear him admit it himself? Ruo Chu asked calmly. Ruo Yu, don't get too close to that kind of people, said Yan Lu. Ruo Yu looked at her senior brother. Even though she disagreed with what her senior brother had said, she did not say anything. She looked up ahead. She watched as Yi Futian and Yu Sheng walked towards a large rock. There, a graceful young man stood silently. When they reached him, he spoke, "God hated on. Like watching me suffer." Yi Futian looked at the young man in front of him, slightly upset. Yi Wuchen took a quick look at Ruo Chu, who was not too far away, and then back at the dispirited Yi Futian. He couldn't hide the smile on his face. This guy is such a hotshot in both the Kangye Kingdom and the Nando Nation. He even rejected when a beauty like Lin Yuyao tried to get acquainted. Who would have thought that there would be a day when Yi Futian would be despised by a girl? Where's Yi Xiao? Asked Yi Futian. We split up a long while ago, answered Yi Wuchen. Yi Xiao cultivates at the Kangye College. If he plans on inheriting the throne in the future, it would be useful to have the support of the school. Yi Futian nodded. Of course, he understood what Yi Wuchen was trying to say. The students of Kangye College who entered the ancient barren world now would be the future leaders of Kangye College. What did you get from this? Asked Yi Futian. Yi Wuchen looked at the stone wall. His brows furrowed. I can only feel some sort of intent, but I don't know how to approach it. Perhaps it's still not the right time. Maybe we need to give it more time. Yi Futian walked up next to him and squatted down. Yi Wuchen looked down at him. He watched as Yi Futian used spiritual qi to carve something into the stone. It looked like a word. It was the first word of the poem, 1000. After the word was carved, it actually began to change. It looked like it was moving and morphed into the shape of a sword. Yi Wuchen's eyes brightened at this sight. His gaze was glued to the stone wall ahead. Don't try to decipher its artistic conception or whatever. Break up the words, said Yi Futian. All right, nodded Yi Wuchen. When he looked at the stone wall again, it seemed as if the words had changed again. Just then, the black winged eagle, who was standing off to the side, gently flapped its wings. Its eyes twinkled as it looked at Yi Futian with anticipation. You want to learn as well? Asked Yi Futian. The black winged eagle nodded. You really are becoming too smart for your own good, muttered Yi Futian. It seemed that the beast had reaped some benefits from acquiring fate. Their spirits were linked, so it should be easy to teach it. Let me get a feel for it first. Yi Futian sat down on the large boulder, once again focusing on the stone wall. Every word carved into that wall seemed to be morphing into swords. The will of sword kept rushing into his mind. Even though he saw the sword forms and felt the sword intent, if Yi Futian wanted to cultivate this sword technique, he would first need to understand it. He was not a swordsman, so he was not going to waste his time to do so. It was enough for him to get a feel for the fate. Yi Futian was going to leave the cultivation of this sword technique to Yi Wuchen. Following that, Yi Futian continued to observe. At the same time, he would tell Yi Wuchen the form of the swords. Slowly, Yi Wuchen fell into the rhythm as well and became able to see for himself. There was no longer need for pointers from Yi Futian. The strange thing was, the black winged eagle, standing next to Yi Futian, continued to stare at the stone wall. It did not even blink. It seemed as if the beast was beginning to comprehend it as well. Standing off to the side, Yu Sheng witnessed this scene and was shocked. He couldn't even do what a demon beast could. After a while, Yi Futian collected himself and looked over at Yi Wuchen. His eyes were closed shut and a faint hint of sword intent flowed around him. By the looks of it, Yi Wuchen had comprehended the sword techniques hidden in the lines of poetry. "Let's take a look at the other walls," said Yi Futian. The black winged eagle's eyes brightened and flapped its wings, carrying itself in another direction. It landed on a large boulder in front of a wall with engraved art. This engraving depicted a large golden rock charging into the heavens. Its apparitions were also shown, serving as an indicator of the beast soaring through the skies. Yi Futian glanced at the black winged eagle. Looks like this guy had its eyes set on this wall beforehand. But Yi Futian felt like this depiction also suited himself. The black winged eagle and Yu Sheng could cultivate it too. His freedom meditation began to spin in his mind again. An image appeared in his mind. It was the very scene engraved on the wall. A golden rock spread its wings to soar through the skies. It roared loudly. It moved faster than the wind, not leaving an afterimage. Its movements were swift and natural like the flow of the wind. The scene and his memories overlapped slightly, making the image clearer. Unknowingly, Yi Futian's thoughts fell into a mystical state where he felt like he had transformed into the rock, breaking through the clouds into the heavens. Using the freedom meditation, he was able to decipher the true meanings behind the poem and the image on the stone walls. However, it was completely up to his own comprehension abilities to find out what they truly meant. Slowly, Yi Futian's eyes closed. To him, it no longer felt like he was standing on the boulder in front of the wall. He felt as if he was zooming through the clouds in the sky. A strong force of will came from the stone wall and rushed into his mind endlessly. The more he was able to decipher and understand from the image on the wall, the more powerful the fate and will would get. The black winged eagle and Yu Sheng were both doing their best as well. However, the artistic conception they had was more on the simple side. The beast was affected by its natural gifts while Yu Sheng's gifts did not belong in this category. Around them, many cultivators who specialized in the element of wind were doing the same. From time to time, a light would shine from their bodies as these people attempted to incorporate their perceptions with their original abilities. After a long time, Yi Futian opened his eyes to see the black winged eagle looking at himself with a pitiful expression. Using his spiritual energy, Yi Futian transferred the results of his meditation to his beast companion. Following this, the black winged eagle also began its own cultivation with the deciphered messages. "Yu Sheng, that wall really suits you," said Yi Futian. He was pointing to a stone wall in another direction. This wall was close to the ocean and on it were engravings of large, roaring waves. With one simple look, you could almost feel the artistic conception of the image rushing at you like a terrifying force. The two friends headed for that wall. Standing in front of it, the ocean waves rolled in and smacked against the side of Kang Mountain. The great tides seemed to match with the artistic conception given off by the image on the wall. "What do you feel?" asked Yi Futian. "Ferocity and power," said Yu Sheng. "That's right," nodded Yi Futian. Because he was able to use the freedom meditation, he could see things more clearly. It was as if the image was moving, each wave was higher than the last. Its power was destructive. This image was not a sword nor was it wind. It was pure ferocity and power. The two studied it in silence and after a long while, Yi Futian left alone. He walked over to another stone wall by the ocean. This was the last Kang Mountain wall with engravings. There was no one standing in front of this wall. The other three walls were somewhat comprehensible, but this one, no one understood. They couldn't feel any fate from this wall. The image on the stone wall depicted a figure clad in white seated with both hands on a guqin. There was no artistic conception. Yi Futian used the freedom meditation, but he could only see the person in the image playing the guqin. He was not able to feel any will from the image. However, this made the image even more extraordinary. If even the freedom meditation didn't work, it only proved that Yi Futian's level of cultivation was not yet high enough. Yi Futian stood there quietly, simply looking at the stone wall. There was only him. Yi Wuchen was in front of the sword wall, the Black Wind Eagle at the Golden Rock wall, and Yu Sheng at the Wave wall. The four of them each had a wall that enlightened them. Yi Futian's world became very quiet, but in reality, there were people everywhere at the Kang Mountain relic. Ruo Chu's eyes wandered in Yi Futian's direction. He stood out too much. He was the only one in front of that wall. No one has ever deciphered the message behind that image, but look at him, pretending he knows what he's doing. You should know the type of person he is now, she said to Ruo Yu. They hadn't even been here for long, but Yi Futian had already stopped in front of every wall. He was purely wasting time here. Ruo Yu looked over at him briefly. She could not understand his actions. Senior brother Yan was able to get a bit of sword intent from studying the stone wall, said Ruo Chu. She had a smile on her face as she watched Yan Lu, who stood not too far away in front of her. Sword intent came from the stone wall and revolved around him. Yan Lu took a deep breath before saying, "This poem is indeed hiding a powerful artistic conception. By the studying its form, it is possible to feel the will of the sword. If I want to understand it completely, I'm afraid it will take a fairly long time." Senior brother Yan, you're so talented. Normal people can't even compare to you, smiled Ruo Chu. I'm still lacking quite a bit in comparison to senior sister Yun. Yan Lu lifted his head to look at Yun Qinmo. She was perched on top of a tall boulder. Yun Qinmo had a wave of sword intent revolving around her. It was obvious that her understanding of the image on the stone wall was greater than that of Yan Lu. More and more people arrived at the Kang Mountain relic, making the environment crowded and lively. Just then, a figure had grasped the attention of a large group of people. This person had looks that made them stand out. In terms of looks, even Yun Qinmo didn't shine as brightly anymore in comparison. There were many powerful guards next to this newcomer. This person was the Kangye Kingdom's #1 beauty, Lin Yuyao. In the matter of outer appearance, it was only natural not a lot of people could compare to her. Her eyes drifted off to a certain direction and immediately saw Yi Wuchen. Her glamorous body sauntered over next to him. Ji Yu Cheng, Ruo Chu, and the others looked over in their direction. A little while ago, Yi Futian seemed to be acquainted with Yi Wuchen. Now, this girl had also headed over to him. Who was this Yi Wuchen? Was this shockingly beautiful girl also from the 100 Lands? Yi Wuchen suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Lin Yuyao. She screamed and snapped her eyes shut. It felt as if a sword had pierced into her eyes. "Are you okay?" asked Yi Wuchen. Lin Yuyao opened her eyes slowly. They were slightly red. She looked at him and replied, "Are you trying to kill me?" "I was cultivating. Didn't know it was you," he explained. She was speechless. Then, she turned to look at the stone wall and muttered lowly, "So this is the stone wall of the Kang Mountain relic. How come I can't feel anything from it? How did you get the artistic conception?" "I actually didn't get much from it originally, but an unordinary guy showed up," he said. "An unordinary guy?" Lin Yuyao asked with a questioning look. Her eyes shifted elsewhere and she saw a lonely figure standing in front of a stone wall. He looked as if he was the only person on earth. A strange look crossed her face. Can this guy stop living in his own solitude world? Yi Wuchen was right. He definitely was an unordinary guy. Chapter 154 Stone Wall Sword Techniques. Chapter 154 Stone Wall Sword Techniques. Lin Yuyao looked at Yi Futian's backside. From Yi Wuchen's words, she guessed that he was only enlightened with Yi Futian's help. This guy was only in the glory plane. Why was he so scary? But from his performance at the Fenghua banquet and Tingfeng banquet, he truly couldn't be treated like a regular person. "What's he doing?" Lin Yuyao asked quietly. "He's probably getting inspired." "This is the last stone wall," Yi Wuchen said calmly. Lin Yuyao's gaze moved to the other walls. She saw Yu Sheng and the Black Wind Eagle. Was the Black Wind Eagle cultivating too? Being enlightened and inspired by the Kang Mountain relic. It was one thing for the ones beside Yi Futian, Yu Sheng, and Hua Jieyu, to be so scarily talented, but now was his ordinary demon beast cultivating too. Yi Futian didn't know what Lin Yuyao was thinking. He didn't even know she was there. He was still quietly sensing the stone wall. Closing his eyes, he emptied everything. The mountains on all sides of him were imprinted in his mind. Waves crashed, one tide higher than the last. Gradually, A picture appeared in his mind. It was of a white-robed figure playing guqin on the Kang Mountain. Someone was practicing the sword on the beach. The sword technique seemed desolate. The waves came and fell into the sword intent, transforming into 1,000 threads of rain. On the mountain, hundreds of meters tall, the blade flashed coldly and cut the pain of separation. He realized that the poem truly did have an artistic conception. A golden rock soared into the sky, wanting to bid farewell to the man. It cried beside the sea and transformed into countless afterimages, sweeping up the tides. All of this seemed to become a painting. The walls on all sides were not separate entities, their artistic conceptions were one. There was a flash and Yi Futian's guqin spirit appeared. He sat, crossing his legs, and began playing his guqin alone. The graceful melody streamed out, attracting much attention. Many people gazed at him with an odd expression. A 9-star glory plane musical sorcerer was playing his instrument before the stone wall that no one could decipher. Had he really sensed the artistic conception? Lin Yuyao's eyes sparkled. This guy really acted as if the others didn't exist. Interesting. Lu Yuan glanced at Yi Futian and smiled lightly. Shock also flashed past Yun Qinmo's pretty eyes. There was some otherworldliness in the melody, as if it was being played from space. In the melody's artistic conception, waves crashed onto the empty mountain, rocks soared in the air, and people cut the pain of separation with their swords. The emotion and scene went with the music perfectly. As Yi Futian played, the will inside the stone wall went together with his music, resonating. Shortly after, a burst of music intent landed inside Yi Futian's mind, strengthening the artistic conception. It was as if Yi Futian was playing the artistic conception directly. That was not all. In that moment, he seemed to be resonating with the other 3 walls as well. The sword intent, golden rock intent, and sea wave intent all rushed into his mind, coming back out as music. An image appeared with the music. It snuck into Yu Sheng's mind and he shook violently. He instantly felt the artistic conceptions of the sea wave wall and golden rock wall appear clearly in his mind, allowing him to directly sense them. The same artistic conception entered the black wind eagle's mind. It flapped its wings, appearing to be excited. After that, Yi Wuchen, standing to the side, suddenly felt sword intent enter his ear with the music. His eyes flashed and he turned to look at the sword wall. It was as if he could feel an extremely clear picture. An illusory figure was practicing a set of sword techniques. Ruo Yu had the same treatment as Yi Wuchen, but she didn't understand it at first. When the artistic conception in the music became stronger and stronger, she looked at Yi Futian in shock and finally understood. Then she looked to the sword wall and started sensing. However, the others didn't know about the changes in their bodies. They continued to sense quietly, but their savviness seemed to improve under the music. They could sense deeper things and they rejoiced inwardly, continuing to cultivate quietly. A strange sight appeared. There was no other sound in this area except for the soothing guqin. Seemingly after a long time, the music finally stopped. Yi Futian felt the changes in his body and smiled faintly. It appeared that he didn't have to worry about not receiving a fate in the ancient barren world. Luo Junlin received the noble fate in the ancient barren world and caught the attention of the royal Zan temple. Which force would notice Yi Futian? As the music stopped, people smiled one after another. They had all improved, but they didn't know it was the effect brought upon by the music's artistic conception. They thought they were enlightened by themselves. Only a small minority felt that the music had done something and that the music's artistic conception matched the scene. A string of sword intent flowed up and down Yi Wuchen's body and then disappeared. He opened his eyes and took a deep breath. He felt that Yi Futian wasn't normal. This wasn't something a normal person could do. Yi Wuchen understood that Yi Futian had most likely understood the entire Kang Mountain relic. No one had ever done this before, but he did it. What happened? Lin Yuyao asked. That guy taught me how to cultivate swordsmanship, Yi Wuchen said softly. He taught you? Lin Yuyao was surprised. When Yi Wuchen nodded seriously, she understood immediately and shot a resentful gaze at Yi Futian. She was part of the Fenghua rank too. Why couldn't he help her too? Sword intent flowed across Yan Lu's body. Eyes sharp, he looked at his group. How do you feel? Senior brother, I have some enlightenment, Ji Yu Zhong said. Me too. Ruo Chu was a bit excited. Not bad. Ruo Yu, What about you? Yan Lu nodded and turned to Ruo Yu to see her eyes wide open, still in shock. Had she really cultivated the sword technique from the wall? She felt crazy. How did she receive enlightenment just like that? The music had brought the artistic conception right into her mind, and then she looked at the wall and saw the sword technique. Okay. Ruo Yu was still out of it. What do you even think about all day? Ruo Chu couldn't help but say, seeing her sister so dazed. Yun Chinmo, Lu Yuan said, looking at her again. Want to fight and see how enlightened you are? Don't have time, Yun Chinmo replied coolly. Lu Yuan smiled. Wind whistled around him and everyone looked over. A strong wind intent appeared on him, causing a violent wind to scream around him. The fate bloomed and actually fused into the wind intent. A shocking black wind storm swept toward Yun Chinmo. Every strand of wind in the terrifying tornado transformed into sharp blades. They were extremely sharp and converged into a storm that could rip apart everything. It was frightening. Melding fate into the wind intent and casting a spell, he attacked without caring if Yun Chinmo agreed or not. Such strong intent, as expected of the Lu family of the Qinmeng area. Everyone looked at Lu Yuan. It was obvious that he had comprehended quite a bit. Yun Chinmo turned around. Her robes fluttered in the wild wind and a sword appeared in her hand. Her fate also bloomed and fused into the sword intent. Then it whistled as she waved her sword and a curtain of swords appeared around her. The tornado ripped towards her and collided with the sword intent. The world changed and the boulders were pulverized. Yun Chinmo soared into the air, her long hair flying. The sword intent strengthened and cut the tornado up bit by bit. When the storm disappeared, Yun Chinmo hovered in the air alone. As expected of senior sister Yun, Ruo Chu gasped. I seem to feel the artistic conception of the wall in those sword techniques. Ruo Yu's eyes flashed and she mumbled, her techniques were wrong. What nonsense. Ruo Chu glared at her. Let's only test the strength that we comprehended here, Lu Yuan said. As soon as he spoke, he rushed into the air, charging at Yun Chinmo like a rock. For a moment, he seemed to have transformed into a rock. Wielding her sword, it seemed that the sword's artistic conception descended around Yun Chinmo. Seeing the rock cut through the air, she swung her sword and the blade transformed into a light that sliced the sky. Various afterimages came out of the rock. The two moved instantaneously and were too fast for the naked eye to keep up. Boom! Lu Yuan's body had already left, but Yun Chinmo's beautiful body continued to descend. On the other hand, Lu Yuan was hovering arrogantly in the air. He smiled thinly. Yun Chinmo, it appears that you didn't comprehend enough. The senior disciple of your clan is just so-so. Everyone looked at them. Even though Lu Yuan had the upper hand, it didn't mean that Yun Chinmo's enlightenment wasn't as good as his. Other than the tablet that no one could understand, the sword stone was the most difficult one. Its artistic conception was hidden inside the poem and thus it was unfair. Lu Yuan had taken advantage of this. It was as if he did that before Yun Chinmo on purpose. The disciples of the Qinmeng area's sword clan were all enraged. Ruo Yu was upset as well and she said, Senior Sister Yun, your sword technique can be improved. Yun Chinmo gazed at her. Yan Lu and the others did so as well, wondering what nonsense this girl was saying. Ignoring all their looks, Ruo Yu produced a sword filled with the sword intent. She swung the blade, and at that moment, countless shadows appeared. The sword transformed into threads of rain and each drop was filled with the power to cut through the air. Paired with the sword intent in her body, it was clearly more advanced than Yun Chinmo's artistic conception. Many people were surprised at this. Ruo Chu also looked at her sister in shock. Ruo Yu's talent couldn't be compared to Yun Chinmo's, but her technique was clearly more powerful. If Yun Chinmo had used this, Lu Yuan would have been completely obliterated. Junior sister, how did you comprehend this? Yan Lu and the others all came over to scrutinize Ruo Yu. Yun Chinmo looked at her too and asked, how did you do it? Everyone's gazes fell upon her. How could a young disciple of the sword clan in the first-level Dharma plane decipher the swordsmanship technique of the sword wall? Chapter 155 Do you have a death wish? Chapter 155 Do you have a death wish? Seeing that almost everyone was looking at herself, Ruo Yu immediately felt a great wave of pressure. Her eyes drifted over to Yi Futian, but she instantly withdrew her gaze. If she told the truth, it was bound to bring him trouble. She was in her own clan. The sword clan of the Chinmeng area was a great power and not many people dared to start trouble with them. I don't know either. I was just suddenly enlightened, said Ruo Yu in a low voice. Ruo Chu looked at Ruo Yu strangely. Enlightened. As twins, Ruo Chu was very clear about Ruo Yu's abilities. How would she be suddenly enlightened? However, Ruo Yu was by her side the whole time and did not come into contact with anyone else. Other than enlightenment, there was no other explanation. Lin Yuyao looked over at Ruo Yu and then back at Yi Futian. Could it be that she was able taught by the sound of Yi Futian's guqin? It is a good thing to get such a rare opportunity, said Yun Chinmo. She did not question Ruo Yu any further. If Ruo Yu did, in fact, know the secret to deciphering the meaning behind the stone walls, this was not the place to question her. Yun Chinmo glanced at Lu Yuan, having no intentions to continue their fight. Her attention shifted back to the sword wall. Even Ruo Yu had been enlightened. Yet she had achieved nothing. Yan Lu and the others all had strange looks on their faces as they continued their cultivation. You know, you guys should actually reconsider what Yi Futian said earlier, Ruo Yu mumbled lowly. Ruo Chu and the rest of their group furrowed their brows and all turned their attention to Yi Futian. At that same moment, Yi Futian had descended from the large boulder in front of the stone wall and was headed their way. Yu Sheng and the Black Wind Eagle were also by his side. They had both already been enlightened on the true meanings behind the images on the walls with the help of Yi Futian. Hello, my little friend. Ji Yu Zhong smiled at Yi Futian. Done with all four walls? Yeah, Yi Futian nodded with a smile on his face. Seeing that Yi Futian had actually nodded, Ji Yu Zhong could not help but let out a look of interest. This guy is really thick-skinned. How much information did you get? Ji Yu Zhong continued to ask. A little bit from each of the walls, I guess, Yi Futian answered nonchalantly. He looked at Ruo Yu and said, Ruo Yu, I'm heading back first. Good luck with your cultivation. I'm done as well, I'll head back with you, she said as she stepped up closer to him. Yi Futian transferred the knowledge of the sword techniques to her today. It was definitely a great favor. This guy, not far away, Lin Yuyao watched this scene and everything was now crystal clear. Ruo Yu was indeed taught by Yi Futian. Ruo Chu frowned at her sister's words. Had her younger sister gone crazy? Have you had enough? Ruo Chu asked Yi Futian coldly. He looked at her with no words to say. How did I piss her off now? Sis, what are you doing? Ruo Yu was angry with the way her older sister acted. Ruo Chu looked at Ruo Yu and said, did he really put some spell over you? I just want you to see how fake he really is. Yi Futian, since you said that you were enlightened by the stone walls, all we have to do in order to know if you're telling the truth is to fight. Ji Yu Zhong, give it a go, said Ruo Chu. Ji Yu Zhong chuckled with his reply, all right. I also want to know what type of enlightenment you had, my little friend. Ji Yu Zhong smiled at Yi Futian. What's going on? Lin Yuyao saw what was going on and asked Yi Wuchen who was standing beside her. Yi Wuchen could not hold in his smile. He said some things to Lin Yuyao and after she heard what he had to say, a strange expression crossed her face. She looked at Ruo Chu and busted out in laughter. Lin Yuyao looked at Yi Futian. Who would have thought this day would come for that rascal? Yi Futian glanced at Ji Yu Zhong and then at Ruo Chu. A smile spread across his face before that word slipped out of his mouth, idiots. He turned around and walked towards Yi Wuchen. Ji Yu Zhong frowned. Ruo Chu had an icy look in her eyes. Did Yi Futian just call them idiots? A sharp ray of sword intent released from Ji Yu Zhong as he took one step in Yi Futian's direction. With the sword intent revolving his body, he warned Yi Futian, watch out, my little friend. He finished what he had to say, and released his sword techniques. At the same time, a black shadow whisked by at an unbelievable speed. It was a demon beast. Maybe a rock. Huh. Ruo Chu and her friends furrowed their brows in confusion. A storm seemed to have started in the area around them. Ji Yu Zhong hadn't even released his sword when the shadow descended from the sky with its claws charging straight down. It struck Ji Yu Zhong in the chest, propelling him backward. He now had blood streaming down the front of his chest. Whoosh! A strong wind blew past and the shadow of the rock had returned. It floated in the air behind Yi Futian. It was a demon beast all right, but it was not a rock. It was a black wind eagle. The artistic conception of the stone wall. The members of the Sword Clan lifted their heads to look at the wall where Lu Yuan was. The image of a large golden rock. The beast behind Yi Futian had released that artistic conception. How could an ordinary black wind eagle have such an understanding? Ji Yu Zhang. Ji Yu Cheng and the others walked over next to Ji Yu Zhang. He climbed up from the ground and looked at Yi Futian's silhouette with cold eyes. This black wind eagle is strange. It has such strong comprehension skills to understand the artistic conception, said Ji Yu Zhang. Yan Lu nodded in agreement. He had also noticed this fact. The group headed towards Yi Futian. Ruo Yu did not look too good in this current situation. Are the members of the Sword Clan going to start a conflict with Yi Futian? They watched as Yi Futian stopped in place. He did not spare them a glance, but instead, looked at Yi Wuchen and asked, together. Sure. Yi Wuchen nodded. He was obviously not going to turn down Yi Futian's invitation. He was also thinking the same thing. Hey, I heard someone have you the cold shoulder. Lin Yuyao chuckled at Yi Futian. Taking pleasure in my misfortune. Yi Futian smiled at her. Is it her? Lin Yuyao looked at Ruo Chu. Ruo Chu saw Lin Yuyao looking over and frowned. What does she mean? Since when has your taste gotten so bad? Lin Yuyao teased. She had finally gotten her revenge. This rascal is always ignoring me. Now he'll know what it's like to get the cold shoulder. The group of Sword Clan members witnessed everything. Was she insulting Ruo Chu? However, in comparison to this girl in front of them, Ruo Chu's looks were a far cry from her beauty. Is it funny? Yi Futian never thought Lin Yuyao had this side to her. It seemed like this girl had held quite a grudge. It's pretty funny. She nodded seriously. She then asked, can you bring me along too? Yi Futian looked at her with a strange look in his eyes. What goes on in this girl's brain? To be honest, the Lin Yuyao before would have never made such a request, but seeing Yi Futian help Yi Wuchen become enlightened with his Guqin, and even a girl he met in the ancient barren world, it did not make her feel great. Did she really lack the appeal? She was always getting ignored by this jerk. Seeing the look in Yi Futian's eyes, Lin Yuyao gave him a glare. Don't worry, I know I'm not as pretty as your girlfriend. I won't have any crazy thoughts about you. I just want to train with you in the ancient barren world. Yi Futian glanced at Yi Wuchen. Yi Wuchen said nothing and stared at him, almost as if he were saying, do what you want. Only then, did Yi Futian nod his head. Fine. Can you not say it so reluctantly? Lin Yuyao said as she bites her lip, upset. Yi Futian shrugged, whatever. You. Lin Yuyao did not know what to say to him. The anger on her face gave her a unique look. The Sword Clan members standing on the side were stupefied just looking at her. Ruo Chu was also frozen. A strange expression fell on the faces of Yan Lu and his group. Yi Futian did not seem to give a crap about Lin Yuyao's looks. It also seemed like this beautiful girl had been previously rejected by Yi Futian. She even said that Yi Futian's girlfriend was more beautiful than she was, and that she wouldn't have any crazy thoughts about him. Would Yi Futian really try something with Ruo Chu and her sister? It was obvious now. Ruo Chu was thinking too much. Especially when Lin Yuyao had looked at her with the smile that wasn't really a smile. Ruo Chu felt insulted. Are you happy now? Ruo Yu asked her sister. It was obvious that Yi Futian had no ulterior motives being with them. All he wanted were travel companions. He even taught her the sword technique from the stone wall. Yi Futian. Just then, Ji Yu Cheng walked up and spoke to him with a cold demeanor. How could you allow that demon beast to attack Ji Yu Zhang? Scram. Yi Futian gave him a quick, emotionless glance. He did not want to waste his breath on these people. If it weren't for Ruo Yu, he wouldn't have bothered to say a single word to these people after the incident. At the sight of how arrogant Yi Futian was acting, the Sword Clan members were enraged. Where did this 9-star glory plane get such courage? That demon beast, leave it with us, said Wang Ju. He didn't want to discuss any further either. Stepping up, sword intent was released from his body. Feeling the power of the fourth-level Dharma plane, Yi Wuchen frowned. With one step forward, a strong force of sword will erupted from his body. In an instant, the whole area was enveloped by the powerful force. This force of will was like that of the sword wall. "Do you have a death wish?" asked Yi Wuchen. His tone was sharp like the blade of a sword. The will dominated Wang Ju. He was using the will of sword to repress Wang Ju's sword intent. Yan Lu and the others looked at Yi Wuchen in great shock. How was he also enlightened by the Stonewall's sword will? This attracted many people to look over. Yun Qinmo also made her way over. Seeing that the conflict was growing, Ruo Yu grew worried. "You have also been enlightened by the Stonewall's sword will?" asked Yan Lu. "In just one day, 2 people have been enlightened. There was also the Black Wind Eagle. It was enlightened by the artistic conception hidden in the golden rock wall." Yan Lu stepped forward and a stronger force of sword intent was released. The destructive power of the 6th-level Dharma plane rolled towards Yi Futian's group. Everything that happened today could only be described as strange. Since things had already come to this, they could not let Yi Futian get away so easily. Yan Lu needed answers now. Yi Futian felt Yan Lu's sword intent coming in their direction, as if he wanted to encapsulate them, forcing them to stay. "Seems like I was being too nice." Yi Futian's gaze sharpened and he looked over at Yan Lu to say, "Do you have a death wish?" Chapter 156 Shocked. Chapter 156. Shocked. After Yi Futian spoke, the surrounding gazes all fell on him. A 9-star glory plane cultivator had asked a level 6 Dharma plane cultivator if he wanted to die. However, Yi Futian's eyes were sharp. His aura really made one feel a slight pressure as if it wasn't just a threat. Where did he get the confidence from? At least, where did he get the qualifications to say those words? Yan Lu arched an eyebrow. The sword intent was still present on his body. He gazed behind Lin Yuyao and a few guards walked forward. This was probably the source of Yi Futian's confidence. "You can try," Yan Lu uttered coldly, staring at Yi Futian. As he spoke, the air around him seemed to turn solid. The people on the stone walls watched the fight quietly. Cold animosity bloomed on Yi Futian's face. "Enough." Ruo Yu walked forward at this moment and stood before Yi Futian. "Senior brother Yan, you've crossed the line. Come back," Ruo Chu reprimanded when she saw Ruo Yu run out. "Shut up," Ruo Yu said to Ruo Chu. "This all started because of you. Yi Futian invited us to a meal at our first meeting. Instead of being grateful, you said those ugly words at the inn. What ulterior motive would he have? Didn't you want to know how I comprehended my swordsmanship technique? Yi Futian taught me." Everyone was fixated. Yi Futian taught Ruo Yu to comprehend the techniques from the stone wall. How was this possible? "You're joking," Ruo Chu said coldly. "You think I'm joking?" Ruo Yu shot back. Ruo Chu and everyone else was in disbelief. Did Yi Futian really teach it to Ruo Yu? "Are you speaking the truth?" Yun Qinmo asked. She walked forward and looked down from her position in the air. "Absolutely. Otherwise, how can I do it?" Ruo Yu said to her. "Senior sister Yun, this is all my sister's fault. Yi Futian never did anything to us. Please tell senior brother Yan to stop." Yun Qinmo gazed at Yi Futian and saw him standing there quietly. Sensing her eyes, he looked up at her. Was it the musical sorcery? Yun Qinmo looked at him and subtly guessed that the music from before was unordinary. "Do you want to learn?" Yi Futian looked at her with a smile. Yun Qinmo met his eyes and said, "If you're willing, you'll be the Sword Clan's friend. We will protect your safety in the Qinmang city." If they became friends, today's scuffle would end and there'd be no need for more words. Yi Futian looked up at Yun Qinmo. She was very pretty with some coldness. As the top disciple of the Sword Clan, she was qualified to say those words. "If you want to learn, then sure." Yi Futian smiled and walked toward the music wall near the sea. Yi Wuchen, Lin Yuyo, and the others followed him. The Guqin wall was in the highest spot. Yi Futian sat down, crossing his legs, and released his Guqin spirit. He strummed the strings and music streamed out, creating an artistic conception. Then, there seemed to be unique artistic conception strength on the Guqin wall. It resonated with Yefutian's music. It was of a figure clothed in white, playing his Guqin. Sword intent was born and a rock appeared. Waves crashed against land. When this artistic conception descended, the walls on each side seemed to resonate with the music. The sword intent and music went from the sword wall to Yan Lu, digging into his ears. At that moment, he felt himself in that special artistic conception. He saw the sword in the stone wall's artistic conception. The sword transformed into thousands of threads of rain, cutting everything apart. No! That moment, everyone heard Yan Lu cry out. Their hearts trembled and they looked over. The next moment, a shocking scene appeared. They saw Yan Lu's body spiral up as the sword aura shot crazily out of him. However, endless rain-like sword intent appeared, tearing out of him. His clothing ripped apart and cuts appeared on his body. There was even blood on his neck. With a pained cry, he dropped to the ground. He grasped his wrist with blood flowing out. He trembled violently, fear filling his eyes. In the artistic conception in his mind, endless threads of sword intent were about to drown him. The sword created by the sword intent was unstoppable. Everyone was shocked. They looked at the sword wall. They realized with astonishment that terrifying sword intent radiated from the poem. It bloomed and fused with the music. There was the faint shine of a dazzling sword. Yi Futian used the music to guide the stone wall's intent and attacked Yan Lu. Would you like to try? The music stopped. Yi Futian looked down on Yan Lu and everyone trembled inwardly. Earlier, Yan Lu had told him to try and now, he really did. Ruo Chu, Ruo Yu, Wang Ju, and the others were all shaking inside too. They looked at Yan Lu's pathetic state then back at Yi Futian. The boy who was still smiling and seemed easy to talk to completely changed when he began playing the guqin. His handsome features radiated coldness and once-in-a-century talent. Behind him, Yu Sheng, Yu Wuchen, and Lin Yuyao stood quietly. For a moment, everyone understood why Lin Yuyao said that to Yi Futian. Probably only those who were willing to cultivate with him knew just how amazing Yi Futian was. He used his music to transmit the artistic conception and even helped Ruo Yu learn the sword technique that Yun Qinmo couldn't comprehend. He had comprehended the stone wall that no one had ever been able to and communicated with it. He even resonated with the walls on all sides. Only he completely understood the Kang Mountain relic. He was an unparalleled talent. For so many years, countless people from the Qinmeng territory entered the ancient barren world and studied the Kang Mountain relic, but no one could do what he did today. It was only one relic in the ancient barren world, but it proved how monstrously talented this handsome boy was. Ghastly pale, Yan Lu felt chilled. Everyone looked at him but he kept his mouth shut. Did you think I was joking? I'll give you another chance. Do you want to die? Yi Futian asked indifferently. Earlier, he had asked if Yan Lu wanted to die and Yan Lu told him to try. Did he have the courage to reply that again? Yi Futian placed his hands on the strings again as if he could start again at any time. Face pale, Yan Lu lowered his head and replied, no. Yi Futian looked at him mockingly and then looked away as if Yan Lu didn't deserve his attention. Yan Lu was livid and extremely humiliated. Behind him, Ruo Chu and the others watched this without a word. Yun Qinmo, Lu Yuan, and everyone else in the Kang Mountain relic looked at Yi Futian. You comprehended all four walls. Does that mean that you found the artistic conception of the golden rock? Someone asked. It was Lu Yuan. He could only find the powerful wind intent from the wall. If he could comprehend it, it would be very helpful to him. It wouldn't only increase his fate. What do you think? How strong are you with the wall's intent? Lu Yuan asked, staring at him. Do you want to try? Yi Futian asked. I just want to be friends, Lu Yuan suddenly said with a smile. Friends? Yi Futian sneered. They had to be friends for him to transmit the wall's intent. Would they be enemies otherwise? Yi Futian lowered his head and played the instrument, creating another melody. As the music streamed out, the wall's intent descended again. Light glowed from the walls at once. Waves of artistic conception descended. They snaked into ears of Yi Wuchen and Lin Yuyao's group. Even the guards behind Lin Yuyao could sense the artistic conception. Hearts trembling, they glanced at the walls and started studying with no regard for the outside world. Seeing this, everyone furrowed their brows. Was he teaching the artistic conception with music in front of everyone? Many people were envious and jealous. If they could comprehend the Kang Mountain relic, they could receive a lot of fate. The intent was suitable for cultivation as well and could increase their combat ability. It was beneficial to their future cultivation too. In addition, many present were suitable for cultivating the intent of these walls. For example, the Sword Clan was great for the Sword Wall. Ironically though, the Sword Clan could have become his friend but chose to be his enemy. Since Yi Futian had taught it to Ruo Yu, it showed that he didn't really care. He could help anyone who was his friend. This was only one relic site in the ancient barren world. With Yi Futian's talent, he wouldn't have to steal the fate. He could use his savviness to figure out the noble fate himself. Happy now, Ruo Yu looked at her sister coldly. What did Yi Futian want from you? Ruo Chu was embarrassed. Yan Lu, whom they'd thought was extremely talented, had been easily defeated by Yi Futian and humiliated. A beauty like Lin Yuyao willingly followed Yi Futian. What would he want from her? What did she have that Yi Futian could want? Thinking of this now, she realized that she had just been petty. She could have comprehended all of the Kang Mountain relic and even cultivate with Yi Futian. Looking around, she saw countless figures who wanted to learn but no one dared to move. Someone from the Glory Plane had played his Gukan alone and stunned everyone. What are your requirements? Yun Qinmo suddenly asked. Yi Futian looked up from his Gukan and smiled. He said, earlier, you gave me a choice so I'll give you a choice too. I'm unfamiliar with the ancient barren world and need a maid. I can consider you. With his words, Yun Qinmo, Ruo Chu, and the others all hardened their eyes. Everyone stared at him, speechless. He wanted the top disciple of the Sword Clan, the pride of the world, Yun Qinmo, to be his maid. Chapter 157 To Take Your Life. Chapter 157, To Take Your Life. This guy. Everyone froze as they stared at Yi Futian. A 9-star Glory Plane wanted Yun Qinmo to be his maid. This was too crazy. Even though Yi Futian had outstanding gifts, his level of cultivation was still too low. Plus, he was younger. It was too much for him to say such a thing. Despite what Yun Qinmo had previously said, she had merely offered the thought that he would be a friend of the Sword Clan and receive their protection if he was willing to teach a member of the Call the Sword technique from the stone wall. But Yi Futian, he jumped about 1,000,000 steps ahead and asked their top disciple to be his maid. Ruo Chu, Wang Ju, and others of the Sword Clan looked at Yi Futian. Was this the same person who had traveled alongside them? Yun Qinmo stared at Yi Futian. She was the female prodigy of the Sword Clan. No one had ever dared to disrespect her in such a way. He wanted her to be a maid. However, the handsome figure at the Gukan acted as if it was a given. His innocent eyes smiled at her. Of course, Yun Qinmo could feel the arrogance in his eyes. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to make such a disrespectful, preposterous request. In his eyes, her identity as a female prodigy made her no different from a regular person. Was this the confidence he had in his own gifts? Although the Kang Mountain relic was only one of the relics in the ancient barren world, there was no one else in history who had been able to understand the artistic conception of all 4 walls in one day. He was even able to harmonize every image. From this, he definitely had the right to be arrogant. Over the years, many prodigies from the Qinmeng area had stepped into Qinmeng City. They had all come to the Kang Mountain relic in hopes of understanding the artistic conception of the stone walls, but none of them had been able to do what Yi Futian had done today. Not only so, but he was able to use the sound of his Gukan to teach the will of the walls to others. Even a nobody from the Sword Clan like Ruo Yu was able to cultivate the sword technique of the wall because of him. It was far better than Yun Qinmo, who tried so hard to comprehend. This meant that if Yi Futian was willing to help her, Yun Qinmo would be able to achieve so much more. She would reach a level incomparable by Ruo Yu. However, it was also impossible for her to sacrifice herself to become a maid just to learn the sword technique. But what if he would also teach her to understand the will of the other 3 walls as well? If that wasn't enough, then what about all the other things the other relics of the ancient barren world could bring her in the future? Thinking of these things was the only way Yun Qinmo managed to keep calm in a situation where she should be angry. Her gaze shifted to the people behind Yi Futian. Their gifts may not compare to hers, they may also not be as capable, but with Yi Futian, she would be able to achieve everything they would. She may even acquire noble fate in the end. You really are out of line here, Lu Yuan said to Yi Futian. Yi Futian didn't think too much of it. After all, the person he made a request to was Yun Qinmo and not Lu Yuan. In Lu Yuan's opinion, Yun Qinmo was a prodigy. She was beautiful and talented. So, Yi Futian's words were a joke. Don't worry, you won't get the chance to be my maid even if you wanted to. I won't be able to get used to it, Yi Futian replied to Lu Yuan with a smile. Females could be maids. What could males do? Lu Yuan was dumbfounded by what he said. He snorted and looked to Yun Qinmo. We should just team up and break the flow of his music, then take him down. Isn't that much easier? I will take your offer. Yun Qinmo had spoken. Immediately, everyone's attention shifted to her. She actually said yes. Has she gone mad? Female prodigy of the Qinmeng area's sword clan actually agreed to be someone else's maid. Moreover, this person was at a cultivation level too much lower than herself. A mere glory plane cultivator. This was definitely not something to be proud of, especially for someone of Yun Qinmo's status. Senior sister Yun, Ruo Chu, Yan Lu, and the others stared at her in shock. They were dazed by everything that just happened. In their hearts, Yun Qinmo was an existence they could not reach out to touch. Was she actually going to be a maid? And for someone they had previously not wanted to associate with, Yi Futian. This was truly a 180-degree change. They could not wrap their heads around this immediately. They could not understand. Even Yi Futian was shocked. He was unfamiliar with the ancient barren world and indeed wanted a person to help guide him through, but he was just joking when he said what he did. He did not think that Yun Qinmo would actually agree to do it. He was completely taken by surprise. But to have a female prodigy as a maid should save him a lot of trouble. At the very least, he wouldn't have to have people roll their eyes at him in contempt when he tried to get information. The past experience with Ruo Chu's group was not a happy one. Ruo Yu was very kind, but she was also too weak. Plus, there were many things she could not decide for herself. To have Yun Qinmo serve as their guide would actually be quite fitting. Yi Futian smiled and began to play his instrument. A wave of artistic conception accompanied the music as it crept into Yun Qinmo's mind. She could feel the force. She looked over at the sword wall immediately, and in that split second, the words on the wall seemed to have transformed into words. They continuously flowed into her mind. In Yun Qinmo's mind, the sword technique had appeared. Such a strong artistic conception. Swords could be seen in her beautiful eyes. She was shocked. No wonder Ruo Yu was able to succeed in cultivation of this sword technique. Lu Yuan's expression darkened. He had just offered to join hands with Yun Qinmo, but she turned around and agreed to Yi Futian's request. What's more, she was immediately able to be enlightened. What did that make him? In mere moments, Yun Qinmo was taken over by fate. Sword will circled her petite body. She had a better understanding of the way of the sword to begin with, and was also of a higher cultivation level than Ruo Yu. With the help of Yi Futian's Guqin, her road to enlightenment was naturally smooth. Try out your new skills on him, said Yi Futian. Yun Qinmo knew what he meant. She turned to Lu Yuan. The sword will was still flowing into her ears along with the music. A sword appeared in her hand, and in the blink of an eye, sword will swept over the entire area around them. At the sight of this, Lu Yuan turned green. The wind will he acquired through enlightenment released in a storm brewed around him. It formed into a destructive force of hurricane sorcery and rolled towards Yun Qinmo. She advanced toward him as endless amounts of sword intent collected around her. The sword flew out of her hand and the chi from it turned into a light rain, falling to the ground from the skies above. The hurricane storm was actually torn to pieces. Lu Yuan seemed to have transformed into a rock, appearing in front of Yun Qinmo abruptly. He threw out a terrifying attack, but it was stopped by an impenetrable force field created by the rain. Lu Yuan replicated himself and the different images surrounded Yun Qinmo. He released a teleportation spell using the wind will, making the different versions of himself move around her even faster. This did not seem to have any effect on Yun Qinmo. She did not attack him. Instead, she waved her sword around, and in combination with the incredible force of sword will, every drop of rain came down sharp, like a sword. Each drop contained the power of sword will. The replicated images of Li Yuan danced around Yun Qinmo's body but could never find the right time to attack. Meanwhile, her sword will was getting stronger as the sword-like rain storm grew. Yun Qinmo, you're degrading yourself. Goodbye. Lu Yuan took the shape of a rock and turned to leave. The sword in Yun Qinmo's hand flew out after him. In an instant, the rain formed into a line. The gleam of a sword's blade shot towards Lu Yuan at a speed greater than his own. Whoosh! A low sound was heard. Lu Yuan's body was still advancing forward at an unbelievable speed. After he had gotten a decent distance away, he stopped in midair. He turned around with cold eyes and looked down onto a spot on his chest. There, he was pierced by the sword will. The blood gushed from his wound continuously. This was actually the result on a Yun Qinmo who was holding back. If she had attacked at full force, he would have been done with. In a flash, Lu Yuan scurried away. His voice resonated through the air as he disappeared. Until next time. Seeing that her opponent had disappeared, she felt chills. Under the influence of the Guqin, she had tested her newly acquired sword techniques perfectly. She had perfected the sword technique of the stone wall. Continue with the other two walls, said Yi Futian. Once again, he used the sound of his Guqin to transmit the artistic conceptions of the stone walls into her mind. Yun Qinmo immediately looked over at another wall. Everyone around had their eyes fixated on her. When she had made her decision earlier, everyone was confused by her choice. But by the looks of the battle just now, they slowly began to understand why she agreed to Yi Futian's request. Yi Futian could make her stronger. In the pursuit of power, she decided to give up certain things. Things such as her pride as a prodigy. Although it was difficult, this was the choice she made. Also, Yi Futian did not let her down. That battle proved his worth. Watching Yun Qinmo continue to her path to enlightenment with the two other walls, many people shared the same though. Is this really worth it? Only time would tell. Noticing that everyone around Yi Futian was working hard to comprehend the hidden messages the stone walls through meditation, everyone else began to so as well. At this moment, they could faintly feel that the sound of the Guqin was helpful to their comprehension of the walls. The music was gentle. As more people arrived at the Kang Mountain relic, they were met with this strange scene. The atmosphere at this location was strange as well. Just then, a group of people arrived loudly. The formation consisted of tens of people, all of high cultivation. These people had also come to see the Kang Mountain relic. Immediately, they saw the figure seated on top of the tallest wall, playing on his Guqin. Yi Futian. A smile escaped on the face of the group leader. Their efforts had not been in vain. Let's see how he'll try to escape this time. Several other people from the Kangye kingdom are here as well, chuckled another person. Yi Futian, Yu Sheng, and Yi Wuchen were the ones who ruined the Tingfang banquet's reputation. Now, they were all here. The Kangye kingdom's #1 beauty was here as well. These newcomers were powerful cultivators of the Nando nation. They were also the Dharma plan prodigies chosen from the second event held by Emperor Luo after the Tingfang banquet. Emperor Luo had spoken, whoever killed Yi Futian would receive a heavy reward upon their return to the Nando nation. This was an opportunity they could not miss out on. The group headed upward. Yi Futian looked toward them and recognized some faces. Among the group was Shi Lu from the Nando nation's Tingfang banquet. What do you guys want? Chuckled Yi Futian. To take your life, someone said coldly. They charged forward suddenly, not wanting to give Yi Futian any opportunity to escape. Around the stone walls, everyone's attention was drawn to the Nando group. They looked at the group with questioning eyes. It wasn't going to be easy to take Yi Futian's life at the Kang Mountain relics. Chapter 158 Fate Level. Chapter 158, Fate Level. When Yi Futian heard the other's words, cold murderous intent flashed past his eyes. It seemed that Emperor Luo's desire to kill him was still as strong as before. He'd tried once at the Nando nation's Tingfang banquet. He had tested Emperor Yi's bottom line. If Emperor Yi hadn't done everything he could to protect Yi Futian, Emperor Luo probably would have acted. These people before Yi Futian were strangers but wanted to kill him. It was obvious they were sent by Emperor Luo. If that was the case, then, Yun Qinmo, Yi Futian called. Yun Qinmo was standing on a boulder not too far from Yi Futian. She faced the group charging at them, her sword intent growing. In a moment, a frightening sword intent loomed in the sky. "Kill them all," Yi Futian uttered, but his fingers didn't stop strumming the instrument strings. While he played, the intent of the sword wall seemed to meld into his music. It rushed wildly into Yun Qinmo's mind, strengthening her sword intent. A sword came down, obstructing all the charging people. Then Yun Qinmo flashed. Her clothing fluttered and she descended like a gust of wind. The swords were like threads of rain, splashing at the others. The strong cultivator's expression changed slightly. He pushed his palms forward and a burst of terrifying fire swept through. A fire elemental dragon followed. The swords came down like raining, piercing everything. They extinguished the fire and spell and went through the man's body. In a moment, blood flowed endlessly from the figure. His body shook violently and he looked down, discovering that his body was riddled with thousands of holes. No, terror rose and despair appeared in his eyes. Then he fell down from the sky. This scene made the charging people halt, all looking up to the beautiful figure. Yun Qinmo didn't stop though. Her sword intent surged, filling the vast sky. The threads of rain turned into strings. Yun Qinmo swung her sword again. Her movements were light and agile. Another strong cultivator was stabbed between his eyes. Yun Qinmo was already in the level 8 Dharma plane. Paired with the sword intent given by Yi Futian through the music and the sword technique she'd comprehended by herself, her abilities evolved. She was so much stronger than the pride of the sword clan from before. Thus, despite appearing weak, every move from her was fatal when she rushed into the crowd. The prides of the Nando nation cast spells crazily to stop her, but her sword was like rain. It covered the entire space and was both strong in attack and defense. No one would overcome her. "Kill Yi Futian first." The expressions of all the Nando people changed. They looked to Yi Futian. His music could strengthen Yun Qinmo. Sorcerers skilled in wind spells rushed to Yi Futian. Yun Qinmo leapt and brought her sword down continuously but couldn't stop everyone. Two figures charged at Yi Futian. He glanced at them and said indifferently, "Is it worth it to die for Luo?" As soon as he spoke, his fingers strummed the instrument strings. In an instant, the two enemies sank into the artistic conception of the music. Violent waves swept at them. Their faces turned aghast and they stumbled back. But at that instant, sword light seemed to come out of the words on the sword wall. It transformed into a tangible sword intent that burst from the stone. It cut through everything, sweeping at the two figures. Rain fell down. The two scrambled back but couldn't escape from the rain. When the raindrops fell onto them, they went through the body. The men dropped from the sky. "He's that powerful." Everyone looked at Yi Futian in shock. The power of the stone wall's intent was a known fact, but they didn't expect Yi Futian to wield it so powerfully. It seemed that even if Yun Qinmo hadn't acted earlier, Lu Yuan still wouldn't be Yi Futian's match. The Nando people shook inwardly. They didn't know what had happened when they first arrived. After seeing Yi Futian, they immediately thought of Emperor Luo's words and wanted to kill him for the achievement. They didn't expect to be forced into this dead end. "Let's go." The figures all retreated. They clearly understood the situation. "Why leave after coming? Why don't you all stay?" As Yi Futian spoke, his sword intent grew stronger until it enveloped the entire Kang Mountain relic. It crisscrossed and Yun Qinmo flashed continuously. The surrounding people kept seeing people drop down until everyone who went to kill Yi Futian had fallen. The air was dead silent. Under Yi Futian and Yun Qinmo's cooperation, the dozens of strong cultivators in the Dharma plane had all been killed. There were even those at the pinnacle of the Dharma plane within them. This was done by relying on the stone wall's intent, but it was still terrifying. The others were thankful they didn't go against Yi Futian. Otherwise, it would be tragic. At this time, Yi Futian's eyes fell upon someone in the distance, Shi Lu. He was the only one who didn't act, so he was still alive. "Why didn't you do anything?" Yi Futian asked. "Even when we're out of here, I promise I'll never work for Emperor Luo." Shi Lu didn't seem to answer the question but was speaking for survival. "Okay, if I see you work for the Luo family in the future, I will take your life. Go now," Yi Futian said with a smile. Shi Lu retreated immediately. He didn't stop at all. He had a lower plane, so he didn't try. He didn't expect this to save his life. Naturally, he could tell that either Yi Futian or Emperor Luo could kill each other, so he knew what to say if he wanted to live. After Shi Lu left, Yun Qinmo floated into the distance. Yi Futian looked at her and asked, "Did you comprehend everything?" Yun Qinmo nodded lightly. Her gaze at Yi Futian was very calm, neither arrogant nor lowly. She had agreed to be Yi Futian's maid, but this didn't mean she would be under him. Yi Futian had given her the stone wall's intent, so she fulfilled her responsibility. When Yi Futian gave her an order, she acted without any hesitation. Good. Yi Futian stopped playing and the Gukan spirit disappeared. "Let's return to the Qinmeng city," he said. Everyone had comprehended the Kang Mountain relic and received some fate. It was meaningless to stay there. Yun Qinmo stepped forward and quietly went behind Yi Futian as if she wanted to play the role of a maid well. "Ruo Yu, what do you plan on doing?" Yi Futian asked with a smile. "I plan on leaving the ancient barren world. I feel that I'm not suited for here," Ruo Yu replied, smiling. She had some feelings after experiencing all this. "Okay, let's meet again if we have the chance," Yi Futian said. Then his group climbed onto the black wind eagle. Wind came and it flapped its wings, going forward at a much faster speed than before. Seeing the figure in the air, Ruo Yu smiled and waved. This short experience was quite unforgettable. She didn't know if they would have the chance to meet again. Beside her, the anger of Ruo Chu, Wang Ju, and the others had faded. They felt numb inside. Earlier, Yi Futian and Yun Qinmo had worked together and killed so many Dharma cultivators in the snap of a finger. They were so shocked. The amazing figure that sat before the stone wall was so foreign. It seemed that he was born to look down from the top despite not being in a high plane. The black wind eagle rode the wind in the air. "Aren't you afraid I'll turn back on you?" Yun Qinmo asked curiously, looking at Yi Futian from behind. "You agreed to be my maid, sacrificing your reputation. If it's just for the Kang Mountain relic, then do whatever you want," Yi Futian said to Yun Qinmo with a smile. Yun Qinmo studied the handsome face and said, "I agreed, but there are some things I won't do." "Such as?" Yi Futian's expression grew strange as he looked at her. "You know what I'm saying." Yun Qinmo looked away. "As for anything else, I'll do my best." Yi Futian blinked. Glancing at Lin Yuyao, he muttered, "Do I seem like that kind of person?" "Yes." Lin Yuyao smiled and nodded. Yi Futian frowned. "Don't worry, you won't have the chance even if you want to," he muttered. "Oh, Yun Qinmo, what exactly is the noble fate?" Yi Futian's fate bloomed. It was dazzling and towered from miles high. Yun Qinmo looked at it with shock. How did he receive so much fate so quickly? "Didn't Ruo Yu tell you?" she asked. "She only told me how to receive the fate," Yi Futian answered. Yun Qinmo nodded lightly. "When the fate becomes strong enough, it'll change in quality and become the noble fate with noble intent. This is the power belonging to those in the noble plane. Receiving the noble intent in the Dharma plane means that you can at least be a noble in the future. Therefore, the most powerful in the Eastern Barren Territory choose those who receive the noble fate in the lower ancient barren world as their disciples. Those in the upper ancient barren world were already above the Arcana plane and entered to break into the noble plane. They didn't have as much potential as those talents who could receive the noble will in the lower ancient barren world. The noble fate has different levels too. You probably felt that the intent from the stone walls can be at the noble level. Therefore, once you accumulate enough, it can transform into true noble will. This type of noble fate is a lower level." Yun Qinmo continued. "Some even stronger geniuses can use the fate that they received to figure out the noble fate by themselves. For example, I'm a swordsman in training. I only perceive sword fate or use all fates to cultivate the sword intent until I create sword intent at the noble level. This is pure noble fate and is the middle level. Even more monstrous figures can perceive different types of noble will in the Dharma plane. These terrifying people will have the upper level noble fate. If someone can have this fate, all the top forces will fight for him, but this is too rare. I heard that even if someone like that exists, he'll be someone already trained by the top forces of the Eastern Barren Territory." Chapter 159 I hope you can take it. Chapter 159. I hope you can take it. Yi Futian listened quietly. He only spoke when he was sure that Yun Chinmo was finished with what she had to say. Is there anything higher than the upper-level noble fate? Yun Chinmo froze. Looking at Yi Futian, she said in what was almost a whisper, higher. Yeah, nodded Yi Futian. He looked right at her as he said, how am I supposed to differentiate myself from the others otherwise? Only upper-level noble fate can help me do that. Quote. Yun Chinmo blinked at the young man in front of her. Seeing the look in his eye, she really wanted to ask him if he was serious. Although Yi Futian's gifts were extraordinary and he did what no one else had been able to do ever before at the Kang Mountain Relic, the location was merely a historical site outside of Chinmang City. The people in this city were all from the Chinmang area. The most powerful cultivators here were still obviously weaker than those groomed in the Eastern Barren Territory. On the other hand, Yu Sheng was undisturbed by what Yi Futian had said. He was used to it. I've never heard of it, said Yun Chinmo. Oh, Yi Futian nodded and continued, after we get back to Chinmang City, can you get your hands on a map of the ancient barren world? I can, but it won't be absolutely accurate, nodded Yun Chinmo. Okay. Yi Futian nodded as well and turned his attention away. He was looking into the distance as if he were in deep thought. The battle between the Nando nation and the Kangye kingdom should have begun by now. Luo Junline should also already be cultivating at the Royal Zan Temple. Once Luo Junline made a name for himself there and acquainted himself with people with any power at the Royal Zan Temple, it would be disastrous for the Kangye kingdom. These powerful groups had many noble plain cultivators. If Luo Junline's talents were outstanding enough, it was possible that these powerful cultivators would step up to help him. Although this was the worst-case scenario, it was not something to be ignored. In the ancient barren world, Yi Futian must stand out against the others. At the very least, he had to exceed Luo Junline. This was the only way he could take control of the narrative. Yi Futian would not be the passive party again. The events of that day in Donghai City were not going to happen again. In the past, Emperor Luo's imperial order was a force of power he could not go against. If the Royal Zan Temple was anything like Emperor Luo, then the results would be the same. Yi Futian refused to let such things happen to himself once again. However, all these pessimistic thoughts were only hypothetical at this point. Normally, the higher-ups of a great powerful force like the Royal Zan Temple would not meddle with wars between countries in the Hundred Lands. After arriving back in Chinmang City, Yi Futian did not return to the inn from before. Yun Chinmo found a private residence for him. It was very grand. Yi Futian secretly praised his maid for a job well done. It was indeed very convenient to have the top disciple of a powerful clan of the Chinmang area as a maid. Yi Futian cultivated by himself in the court of the residence. He was practicing his sparring skills. There was an explosion of fate, climbing to new levels. His body was enveloped in a strong force of will which carried into every punch he threw forward. However, the power of the will was very mixed because they had different origins. There was the Gukan will, the sword will, wind will, and will from different demon beasts. The power of these wills joined to form fate. With the fate, Yi Futian was much more powerful than before. Will was a true form of ability. It could be used in combat. If he was able to acquire enough fate to form noble fate and noble level willpower, it would increase his powers to a terrifying new level. The ancient barren world was indeed a mystical world. After cultivation martial arts for a while, Yi Futian began to practice on the Gukan. The melodious sound carried Gukan will, strengthening the artistic conception created by the song. Just then, a beautiful figure was headed towards Yi Futian. It was Yun Chinmo who had just returned. She stopped in front of Yi Futian and quietly watched him play. When he played the Gukan, he was a completely different person. The music slowed until it came to stop. Yi Futian lifted his head to see Yun Chinmo. "This is a map of the ancient barren world," said Yun Chinmo as she handed the object over to Yi Futian. His Gukan spirit disappeared. Yi Futian laid out the map on the table in front of him. "This is where we are now, Chinmang City." Yun Chinmo pointed to a spot on the map. Yi Futian's eyes followed her finger. It was already labeled on the map. The words, Chinmang City, were marked down. Yi Futian continued looking downward from their location on the map and saw a large piece of barren land. The end of the barren land was the border of the ancient barren world. That should be where he entered. The entrance to the 100 Lands. The entrance to the 100 Lands had just opened, so it was not yet marked on the map. There were also no other cities. Just a piece of barren land. Chinmeng City was the closest city to the 100 Lands. Looking north on the map, there were a couple of cities near Chinmeng City. Yi Futian asked, "Do these cities also correspond to the outside world?" Yes. Young Chinmo nodded and began to explain. The places which these cities correspond to are similar to the Chinmeng area. Among these cities, this city here, Lulan City, is central. It was built by the ancient Lulan in the outside world. Ancient Lulan governs many countries. In the outside world, it is a territory of extreme power and is also located at the center of those countries. Yi Futian nodded at her explanation. His eyes continued north on the map and he pointed at a spot at the center of the map. To Chinmeng City, Lulan City is the center, but to this city here, Lulan City is merely an outlying city. The city Yi Futian pointed at was surrounded by cities, all at close proximity. If the cities around Lulan City formed a district, then there were many districts around this city. Young Chinmo's finger circled around that city as she said, "Look here. These cities are all entrances for powerful groups of the Eastern Barren Territory. They have dominated a majority of the land and exist independently from each other. These cities form the central district of the ancient barren world and correspond to the center of the Eastern Barren Territory in the outside world. That city you were pointing at is the absolute center of the ancient barren world, the Barren City. Not a lot of people from the Chinmeng area have been there." Young Chinmo was the disciple of a powerful clan in the Chinmeng area. Someone like her was safer in Chinmeng City. Even someone in a lower level of cultivation like Ruo Yu would be able to get by because no one dared to mess with a disciple of these powerful clans, but things would be completely different once they stepped out of Chinmeng City. No one could predict what would happen. Therefore, only those who were confident enough in their own abilities would travel to other cities in the ancient barren world. Powerful cultivators from the Chinmeng area would travel to the district center, Lulan City. However, no one dared to step into a place like Barren City carelessly. Even the best of the best from the Chinmeng area could only keep a low profile once they stepped into Barren City. Yi Futian nodded his head lightly. No wonder people said the ancient barren world was not only the road to the noble plane but also an access way. In theory, you have access to anywhere in the Eastern Barren Territory from the ancient barren world. It was a huge shortcut. It was almost impossible for Dharma Plane cultivators to reach the Eastern Barren Territory in the outside world. "If we get the chance, I'll bring you to Barren City," said Yi Futian. He lifted his head to smile at Yun Chinmo. She took one look at him. He wants to go to Barren City in the Glory Plane. They had not known each other for long, but she felt that this guy in front of her had a train of thought that ran on a different track than the mass majority. "What historical site around Chinmeng City has the strongest fate?" asked Yi Futian. "Just let me know when you want to go," Yun Chinmo said instead of answering his question. Yi Futian gave her a curious look. It seemed like she had everything planned out already. Perhaps she was looking forward to this location as well. "All right, I have to cultivate for a while. I'll call for you when I need you," nodded Yi Futian. The fate in his body took over once again. He wanted to familiarize himself with its power. He also wanted to stabilize his level of cultivation. After all, he had finally stepped into the peak of the Glory Plane. He could break into the Dharma Plane at any time. The happenings of Chinmeng City's Kang Mountain relic spread to many. It was said that a mere Glory Plane cultivator was able to comprehend the true meanings of all 4 stone walls and was even able to us the will of the stone walls to fight after his enlightenment. He also took down multiple upper-level Dharma Plane cultivators in battle. Furthermore, female prodigy Yun Chinmo of Chinmeng City's Sword Clan had agreed to be his maid. When the news got out, other prodigies gained interest on the topic. The Yun Chinmo had actually become the maid of another person, and a Glory Plane cultivator at that. Countless people used this opportunity to mock the members of the Sword Clan. The Sword Clan members in Chinmeng City were embarrassed and helpless. Many of them tried to find out where Yun Chinmo had gone. On this day, many people arrived outside the residence where Yi Futian and his friends were staying. A group of them were having an exchange with Yun Chinmo. Can I help you, senior brother Yang? Yun Chinmo asked coldly. It seemed that she was speaking to a senior brother from the Sword Clan. He was another top disciple, prodigy Yang Zichi. Didn't you know that your decision would affect the clan's reputation? Yang Zichi asked her. This is personal and has nothing to do with the clan, said Yun Chinmo. You're a member of the clan, of course it has to do with the clan. Gossip is a fearful thing. Don't you understand that? Yang Zichi was becoming angry. I don't care, she answered calmly. I care, he said. So what? Yun Chinmo replied. Just then, Yi Futian and others walked out from the residence. What's going on? Asked Yi Futian. It's nothing, Yun Chinmo answered. Yang Zichi looked over at Yi Futian. His gaze was sharp and hints of sword intent flew towards Yi Futian. Is this him? Asked Yang Zichi. It has nothing to do with you, Yun Chinmo's frown grew. His looks are not too shabby, Yang Zichi sneered. Yi Futian's expression turned into a strange one. He knew that he was handsome, but to hear something of the sorts come from the lips of a man was just plain weird. So, that's why you're willing to be a maid, to be at his every beck and call? Yang Zichi asked with a look of disgust. Naturally, Yun Chinmo understood what he was hinting at. Her expression turned ice cold and sword intent threatened to explode as it radiated from her. Yang Zichi's gave her a stern look before giving Yi Futian a once-over. With a cold demeanor, he asked, how does it feel having the female prodigy of the Sword Clan serving at your feet? Leave, said Yun Chinmo. Are you protecting him already? Yang Zichi asked with a fierce look in his eyes. He glared at Yi Futian before saying, I hope you can take it. After these words, he turned to leave with a murderous look in his eyes. He had pursued Yun Chinmo but was rejected. Now, she had become the maid of another man. It was not hard to take a guess as to how Yang Zichi felt. The people around watched with interest. They were all thinking, had Yun Chinmo served Yi Futian? Chapter 160 Headhunting in Public. Chapter 160 Headhunting in Public. Yun Chinmo saw everyone looking at her and her expression grew colder. When she turned to look at Yi Futian, the coldness disappeared and became calm. Since she made her decision, she knew others would talk. She had considered all of this beforehand. If she cared, she wouldn't have agreed. Has he pursued you before? Yi Futian asked, chuckling. Yang Zichi's reaction had been too dramatic. Yun Chinmo looked at him and nodded lightly. He'll be even more too low for you in the future, Yi Futian said. Tomorrow, let's go to the place you mentioned. Okay. Yun Chinmo nodded and they returned to the pavilion. Yu Sheng walked up to Yi Futian and said, while cultivating these days, I realized that not only does fate increase your abilities, it also helps with cultivation. If you perceive the same elemental fate, it'll definitely help, Yi Futian said with a nod. Fate was the power of intent and the strength those of the noble plane had. It would obviously aid cultivation. For example, the sword wall would help those of the Sword Clan in future cultivation. We're almost in the Dharma plane. I have an idea. Yu Sheng looked at Yi Futian. Add the strength of the intent when agglomerating the Dharma. Yi Futian asked. Yes. Yu Sheng nodded. I don't know if it'll work. We can try. Yi Futian had had the same idea when cultivating earlier. The group returned to the pavilion and continued to cultivate. The second day, Yi Futian had Yun Chinmo gather everyone and they departed on the Black Wind Eagle. In the air, the eagle rode the wind and was unbelievably fast. It flew more smoothly than before as if it had melded into the wind. This made it more comfortable as well and it was excited about the future. Before, Yi Futian had controlled it forcefully. With the snow ape there, it couldn't fight back. Now that Yi Futian developed, it finally saw a way to evolve. The other demon beasts probably wouldn't have this chance. It could only pray that Yi Futian wouldn't look down on it and change to another demon. Yun Chinmo pointed out the direction. This time, they were going into the Qinmeng city rather than out. Where are we going? Yi Futian asked. He'd only told Yun Chinmo he wanted to go to the place with the strongest fate but she didn't tell him the specific location. The Noble Grotto, Yun Chinmo said. It's inside the city and like you said, it's the place in the Qinmeng city with the strongest fate. It's much stronger than the Kang Mountain relic. Yi Futian's eyes brightened. Why did Yan Lu go to the Kang Mountain rather than here? The fate is strong, but it's not easy to attain. The noble grotto gathers the true creams of the crop. With Yan Lu's talent cultivation, he wouldn't receive anything even if he went, Yun Chinmo said. I went before but didn't accomplish anything. Yi Futian nodded. He was excited to see what the noble grotto was like. As the black wind eagle flew, Yi Futian saw many people also riding demon beasts toward the same direction. We're almost there. Most go just for fun, Yun Chinmo said, eyeing all the people in the sky. Yi Futian chuckled. After a while, the crowd became denser. Some in the front went down. An extremely large grotto appeared in his vision. It took up a large expanse of land. The air around it glowed faintly like fate. It filled the sky, making the grotto seem mysterious. As they neared it, the black wind eagle started going downward and landed on the ground. At that moment, Yi Futian looked up at the large grotto. He actually felt a faint pressure. It was the noble intent pushing down. There were various carved head sculptures on top of the grotto. The strong noble intent seemed to come from them. The closer he got to the grotto, the stronger the pressure was. If he was walking on the corridor above the grotto, it would probably be too strong to bear. It's indeed much more powerful than the Kang Mountain relic, Yi Futian said. He could feel just by standing here that the fate contained in the noble grotto was incomparable to the four walls of the Kang Mountain relic. There were more people here too, and they all had unique auras. Many seemed to be perceiving the intent hidden inside the grotto from the top as well. In the near distance, a figure walked towards them. Coldness flashed past his eyes and he laughed. Oh, it's Yun Chinmo. It was Lu Yuan, the one wounded by Yun Chinmo at the Kang Mountain relic. His voice attracted many people's attention. Mostly everyone here was from the strong forces of the Qinmeng area. They were familiar with Yun Chinmo from the Sword Clan. Many people looked over in interest. Lu Yuan continued with a smile, how does it feel being a servant? Coldness flashed past Yun Chinmo's eyes. Her sword intent grew more obvious. Lu Yuan wasn't intimidated. This wasn't the Kang Mountain relic. Without Yi Futian and the intent of the sword wall, he didn't think he would be defeated like before. The battle from days ago was honestly humiliating. Yun Chinmo. Another voice rang out at that moment. A youth with an impressive presence stood in the distance and smiled at her. Yun Chinmo, you are the pride of the Sword Clan. Don't you feel undignified to be someone's servant? This was Mo Fan, another powerful clansman of the Qinmeng area. I'm more curious about who took you in as a maid. I heard it's someone in the Glory Plain. Someone else mocked and looked at their group. Who are they? Someone asked. Yi Futian was annoyed. Was Yun Chinmo really that well-known? News of what happened at the Kang Mountain relic had spread. Do you have any problems? Yi Futian asked. Countless eyes fell on him instantly, sizing him up. Some were curious, others were mocking. I heard that you're in the Glory Plain but drove the intent of the four walls in the Kang Mountain relic. Someone asked. I was lucky, Yi Futian said with a smile. This modesty is different from the rumors. I heard that you were really arrogant there, a girl said, smiling at him. The rumors had said that Yi Futian was arrogant and domineering at the Kang Mountain relic and made someone like Yun Chinmo become his servant. Do I look arrogant? Yi Futian smiled at the girl. He was handsome and his eyes were clear. He was easy on the eye and the girl chuckled, shaking her head. No, she glanced at Yun Chinmo and asked, Yun Chinmo, I'm curious as to why you made that choice. It has nothing to do with you, she replied coldly. The girl was the pride of another clan. Her name was Li Lianyi. I'm just curious, Li Lianyi said with a smile. Let's go, Yun Chinmo said to Yi Futian. The youth nodded and their group continued forward. Many people looked at them in amusement. Shortly after, many people followed them. Yi Futian could comprehend the walls of the Kang Mountain relic, so what about here? They wanted to see if he was truly talented or if luck also came into play. After a few steps, Yi Futian stopped again. There were familiar people up ahead. Chu Quangren, prince of the Yunshu nation, stared coldly at Yi Futian and Yi Wuchen's group. It was unexpected to meet them here. Chu Quangren looked in another direction. Yi Futian followed his eyes and saw more people looking at him. Zuo Qinfen and Yu Zhong of the Kangye College, as well as some other students, were present. If they were here, Yi Xiao, eldest prince of the Kangye kingdom, would also be there. Yi Xiao stood with his hands behind his back. He looked forward into the grotto, appearing to be focused. A moment later, he turned around slowly and looked toward Yi Futian. He also saw Yi Wuchen and Lin Yuyao and found it odd. Was Yi Wuchen and Lin Yuyao really following Yi Futian? Your Highness. Seeing Yi Xiao look over, Yi Futian nodded with a smile. No matter what his attitude was, Yi Futian had to follow the rules. After all, he was the prince of the Kangye kingdom. Yi Xiao looked at him coolly. He was surprised Yi Futian could arrive at Qinmeng City so quickly and still be alive. He hadn't heard about the Kang Mountain Relic event. Even though many people knew about it, they focused more on Yun Qinmo. Yi Futian's name was rarely mentioned. Yi Xiao didn't know Yun Qinmo, so he didn't pay attention. Wuchen, Lin Yuyao, how have you been? Yi Xiao didn't look at Yi Futian again. He asked about the others instead. I'm fine, Yi Wuchen answered coolly. Me too. Lin Yuyao nodded and smiled. She felt that the atmosphere was off. She obviously knew about what Yi Xiao had done after entering the ancient barren world. One was the prince while the other was highly valued by Emperor Yi, and this prince didn't like Yi Futian. Follow me from now on, Yi Xiao said to them. Yi Wuchen was his cousin and extremely talented. He deserved to be roped in. If he got too close to Yi Futian, he would probably turn into someone like Yi Danshan. As for Lin Yuyao, she was the daughter of the Lin family. With her beautiful face, she deserved to be asked personally by Yi Xiao. He had considered having her become the future queen with her talent and beauty. Yi Futian was a bit shocked when he heard Yi Xiao's words. Was he head-hunting right in front of Yi Futian? There was no dignity left for him at all. As for Zhuo Qinfen and Yu Zhong behind Yi Xiao, they laughed. Since the prince asked personally, Yi Wuchen and Lin Yuyao should know to make the right decision. Yi Xiao would most likely become the future crown prince of the Kangye kingdom. If he received the noble fate in the ancient barren world, there would be no competition.